Compton crazy mother named Ice Cube. From the gang called Fellers with Attitudes. When I'm called off, I got a soda. Squeeze the trigger and bodies are hauled off. You too, boy, if you with me. The police are gonna have to come and get me off your ass. That's how I'm going out. For the pulp mother, it's going out.
You know, Si, when you're fanning like that, you look like an old lady on a pier. That's all I saw was you fanning like that. What's this?
A Japanese gay chef. So what here though, innit? It's just got to this time and I'm like,
France. Go on, now what is it? What is it? I need to have a laugh at it. Go on, now what is it?
it's 98 degrees.
Get to France and you underpants 98 degrees.
I think it's my own fault because I've been in the garden all day today doing all the garden up.
Yeah.
And I went for a shower, and you know what it's like when you get out of a hot shower in this weather, you're like, ugh, and I've sort of monged myself.
Monged myself. Anyway, we have the lovely Si, the lovely DTM, and the lovely Mr. Reynolds here. What are we talking about today, Si? Because this was your idea. What do you want to do?
I was just looking at things, and like I'm looking at my last few things that I've bought. And do you know, it's funny that we have this sort of divide between vintage and between modern. And the last few things I've bought are vintage, but they're modern. Do you understand what I mean? It's like all these new figures that have come out and everything that we've seen today that's classed as modern is Spider-Man, Ghostbusters, Thundercats, Mask. It's everything we had as a kid. So I don't fully understand this still massive divide, considering that most of the stuff we're buying is only the same stuff as what it was that we class as vintage. What we class as vintage, you know, the stuff that we collected as a kid.
Just renewed, yeah, right.
So my point would be to you, my first question is to you, if somebody new was to come into this toy collection and said, I've decided that, you know, I had a love for toys as a kid and I've seen a lot of the stuff that they do today, I'm going to start collecting. Would you yourself as a collector push them more for collecting vintage of the lines that they like or more collecting modern?
Right, yeah, that's a good question because I guess everything modern, you can get, you know, He-Man, you can get Origins, Star Wars, you can get Retro Collection, yeah. Mask now, you can get, you know, the loyal subjects. It's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question.
It's like I just noticed all the things I brought home, and it's like Spider-Man and Venom figures. Bought them in the 80s, bought them in the 90s, and then it's like Ghostbusters figures that have all coming out. It's like the Lego sets that they're doing and everything. It's like everything we had, like Optimus Prime Lego, Ghostbusters, and then you look at the Playmobil, and it's all 18 vans and Back to the Future. This is all modern stuff, but it's all vintage stuff. Do you know? So it's like I still don't understand this full pull divide where people go, I only buy vintage. Because I'm like, really, if I was to buy modern, say if I was to buy the modern masks today that have just been released, what's the difference, really? Apart from mine would be a little bit more technically better.
I suppose then, well, hang about, Si, that's a different thing. Let's not. I guess in the end, then it would come down to your personal. Do you want to own something that you can look at and go, I know that was around 40 years ago. That was somewhere. That was in someone's house, in someone's possession, in someone's collection 40 years ago. And I like the idea that it was around when I was 6, when I was 5. Or if you're quite happy because you think, well, I want a brand spanking Thunderhawk that's in box that looks amazing, I'm going to get the Loyal Subjects one because it doesn't bother me that it weren't around 40 years ago. I want a spanking new, shiny new looking one. I guess it would boil down to that, whether you want to know it was around 40 years ago or not.
Price as well to me, because we've discussed it before about the mass stuff, and I've never classed myself, Si, as a modern or a vintage collector. I've always loved toys, always. It's you know, it's not a case of starting off as a kid, and I've always said, and you lot have known me for years, the nostalgia's there and so forth, and I like to find stuff that the nostalgia, but I've always been an admirer of toys, you know, vintage or new. You know, I'll sit there and watch videos on trains and old train stations in big cities, and I don't even collect that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's why when we all joined a big group and we all did this sort of thing, I was made up because I'm starting to see things that I don't know of, and B, you know what I mean? Oh, that's cool. And that's why I think we always say, don't we, lads, when we come on these sort of streams, that One of the nicest thing about the people we're surrounded by is the amount of people that collect so much differently. You know, you sit there and listen to Jesse talk about micro machines, or do you know what I mean? VTR, and he's immaculate. What I'm trying to say is everyone brings something different. The issue for me though, and I think, and I've always been upfront about it, is having 4 kids, and I have my own business, Jen has her own business. It all comes to financial for me.
Yeah.
And so in other words, when I look at toys, it's not necessarily because it's vintage or modern, it's the price of it. There's been so many modern toys I've not bought simply because of the price, let alone vintage because of the price. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
When I saw those masks, I thought brilliant, because it gave me an opportunity to go back and get this sort of stuff. But when, for some reason, yours is a lot cheaper than ours over here, they were started off at 25 to 30. And Luke, I'll give you credit, man, because you did say months ago these are going to be sky high, and I went, no, mate, they won't, because of the gem was only $25. This is, but now the Rhino, for example, is $125. $125.
I mean, what's that? Around 90 quid?
Around 90 quid. But the Chrome version, which we had as kids, is a San Diego Comic Con exclusive. The only way you can get the Chrome for $175, which is about 160 quid.
Right. Now, if you go onto the Loyal, I mean, someone jump in, but if you go onto the Loyal Subjects website, Shabby, it will tell you now every single vehicle is coming with Chrome. All of them.
Right, because it says that Rhino wasn't.
Yeah, they're all coming with Chrome. Now, they've put out a statement that says something along the lines of, you've spoken, we've listened. Every vehicle will now come with Chrome.
Right.
So that, but if I remember rightly, when we were talking about it a few months ago, I sort of said, I suspect they'll be high, but they should be. And then I sort of said what I feel they should be around. Now, I was pleasantly surprised when I went on to put my pre-order in with Star Action Figures. And Star Action Figures in the UK had some kind of I don't know how they managed to do it and other companies didn't, but they had a sale immediately, cut prices immediately on the pre-order. So I get that you might be the pre-order thing. A Condor was 20 quid.
Yeah.
20 quid, which even I thought, Jesus, that's cheap. Yeah. Thunderhawk was 35. It's like, wow. Switchblade, I think, was 52. And I was thinking it'd be 70. And I think Rhino, standard Rhino, was about 70 maybe.
Yeah.
The prices were great. I mean, with my current situation at the moment, I've got to be careful with money. So I pre-ordered Condor, Thunderhawk, and Switchblade. I left Rhino because I thought I can pick it up at a later date. But all three delivered, I got for 107 quid. And I thought that was...
And really I can't get this Switchblade for 107 quid.
Yeah, I mean, that's mental.
That is. I wonder why that is. What's happened there then? What's the big jump in America?
The thing about it, I mean, listen, there's going to be people out there that agree and disagree, and I want that. I want people to, you know what I mean? It's nice to have a debate and have a chat and so forth. But as far as I've heard, there's only Big Bad Toy Store now that's doing it over here, and they're saying it's about the tariffs or whatever. But as far as I know, the tariffs is all done. It's all cleared. Because nobody else is doing. I just bought the Fright Zone, Mattel Creations Fright Zone. There's no word of tariffs at Mattel, and no word of this and all of it. And the only place you can get it at the moment or pre-order them is Big Bad Toy Store. Then obviously they'll go to Amazon, they'll go to Walmart and all that. So I'm just going to play the waiting game, because maybe it's just a Big Bad Toy Store price, this. But I went to Joe Fest 2 years ago, got an immaculate mint Condor with Brad Turner, no paint missing, no scratches, for $30. But you want me to pay $35 for a new one? It doesn't make any sense to me. Do you know what I mean?
That was loose, I guess, wasn't it?
That was loose, pal. Yeah.
I suppose the only pull there is you think, well, if I want a box of instructions and blah, 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 I'll pay an extra $10 or $15 or whatever. But yeah, it's strange because, especially with masks, a lot of people were sort of saying, well, if Thunderhawk comes out at 70 quid, you can get a complete Thunderhawk. Not boxed, but you can get a complete Thunderhawk for that price. Or Condor, you can get a box Condor, vintage box Condor for 35 quid, so I'm not going to pay 30 quid for a new. But as it happens, I mean, you can get Star Action Figures, brand new box Thunderhawk, 35 quid. You are not going to get a box Thunderhawk for that. Everyone was going, oh, you could probably get the vintage ones for that price. You're not. Before we knew what they were, you are going to get a box Thunderhawk for 35 quid. So that's where the pull comes in, I think, with these ones. If you're a bit on the fence, you look, and especially once they were announced, you went onto eBay after that, and everyone wanted 170 quid for a box Thunderhawk. You're like, you're not getting that even for a vintage one. But I think they thought, well, yeah, if you want a vintage one now, you don't want to pay. But I just think 107 quid for all three was a no-brainer, and that's delivered. Yeah.
Epic Badger says, my sister is younger, late 20s. She has nothing being marketed to her from her childhood in the early 2000s, so she's spending her money elsewhere. What do you think about that, Dave? It is aimed at us, isn't it? It's our age graphic.
Yeah, I mean, it's when we all grew up, innit? Through that time, everything went out. Your mass stuff, your Masters of the Universe, everything were there.
But will that come round? 2000s, another 10 years, 15.
I don't think it will.
No,
I think the 80s was such a one-off time for a lot of us and a lot of pop culture out there that no matter what decades came later, it'll never top what happened in the 80s. I don't know. It seems to have stuck around forever. The 80s, it never really went.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was. It was the golden age. I think. Maybe we're biased, but golden age of toys, 80s.
Yeah.
I don't go biased because it's the generation we're from. Do you know what I mean? So we can't go anything before that because we weren't around and we didn't collect or anything. So I only go off my childhood, which is basically all our childhoods. We're all on average the same age, do you know? So I just go off that. But the thing is with that, the mass coming now, where does that then put these old sets? Do these old sets go through the roof? Do they start charging triple, double, or do they go right down in price? And that's my whole point. It's like if I'm a mask fan and I've come back to collecting and I've seen all these brand new masks and all this old mask, which on average come and go now, especially for the American prices, you're looking at the same prices if you're not bothered about like box ones. Why would you spend that sort of money on 40-year-old plastic when the new ones are just exactly the same? That's my only,
it's like what Adam's saying, right? He says it's always vintage for Adam. For me, the modern reissues are just that. The modern reissues. They've not got the connection for me, despite how close they are. I can agree with that and disagree with that. I'm walking through Walmart a couple of years ago, and I see the real Ghostbusters and everything on it. I mean, but the thing about it, I loved them as a kid. But that's not something I'm going to go back and... Now I am, because of them. I went to Joe Fest and I picked up 3 or 4 real Ghostbuster villains, the police officer and Janine, and they were selling them really cheap. And the lady was saying to me there that one of the reasons they're selling them cheap is because ever since the Hasbro's remaking them and redoing them, no one's spending the big money on them anymore. She showed me carded versions, and she had carded versions for about $60 to $100 that she's put down to $40, $50 because no one was buying them. And but what I'm trying to say is, I saw them, and at the time they were $14.99. Then Ollie's got them in for $8.99, and I was all in because it looked exactly the same. They're made exactly the same. It's they've got the Kenner on the bottom, and that's the thing. So I just thought, great, but for me, Dave, what it was they were only $9 each. I wasn't going to spend $50, $60 on a carded original one. Do you see what I mean?
No, I got mine pretty cheap here. I didn't pay full price for any of them, all them reissues. But I'm like you, Mark. I've been out and started buying other ones now from years ago.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, obviously, price is always going to come into it. But, going back to what Adam said about it's because he doesn't have a connection with the... But I guess that's all relative as well, isn't it? And that's your perception, because... Does the connection come from to a lot of people that all you've got to do is see it? That wasn't there in the 80s, but that is exactly what I had, and it looks the exact same. And just looking at that box art gives me the connection, because that's So some people will still feel a connection from the modern stuff because they've only got to look at it and feel the connection. That all right, it don't matter that it wasn't there when I was a kid. But that's what I had. It looked the exact same. The box art was the exact same, and it still gives me that feel when I look at it. Some people will still feel the connection, even though it's modern, because they've only got to look at it, sat on the shelf, and it will still stir that nostalgia for them. So
Cat's got a good point.
It's down to pocket, isn't it?
Here, Luke, she says the modern stuff allows everyone to be a collector, as the vintage stuff takes more time. And see, you've got the patience, so we watch your videos, Luke, and you'll
Yeah, not always.
Well, you'll turn around though and say, "Oh, I'll try and get the piece for this, or I'll try and get a piece for that," or you'll turn around and say, "One of the lads has found you a piece for this." So you have the patience game for that. That's one thing I definitely don't have. I've been telling you what I'm going to complete my Ewok village, and I still haven't done it. I mean, we looked, but I did with the Motu, with the Masters Universe. I've been buying the vintage of them, and slowly but surely, I've made sure that A, they're already complete, or B, as soon as I get one, I'm on eBay straight away because it's so cheap. It's funny that because the parts for Masters of the Universe aren't expensive at all. But I think that's what it is. I think Kat's got a point there, hasn't she? Where she says the vintage stuff takes time and money.
Absolutely, yeah. She's got a point, especially when Retro Collection came out. They were 11 and 12 quid a figure. It gives everyone the chance to have it, and if it satisfies you, even though it's not vintage and it works, if that satisfies you and your collection, then buy them. And like you say, it gives everyone a chance to have them, no matter in what context. But I think the modern reissue stuff, while sometimes it maybe isn't for me certain things, I think the pull to it is everyone can have it. Everyone can have it. And like Motu Origins, when they came out, the prices were brilliant. And they looked exactly the same packaging. Obviously, the figures had been tweaked, but good tweaks. They looked good for it. The second they knew that the new head sculpt on He-Man wasn't working, they put it out with a vintage straight away, which is exactly what were these 16 quid a figure?
$14.99 in America when they first came out, and I was all for. Time for that as well is because Black Series wasn't distributed as well. I was so pissed off coming on here every week going, "What have you got, Shabby?" Well, you made a point on ZSR. We used to do toys. That's because you can't bloody find them anymore. Do you know what I mean? That's one of the reasons we ain't showing them much. But Masters came at the right time for me, and because of the price, Luke, and because of the way they looked and they were to be played with, that was something I did with my children. Our Lucy got banging into it, so that's a great 2020 memory, if you will, for me, because that's the first time one of my children has actually invested and thought, you know what, this is pretty, because they never were into Star Wars and Transformers, but Motu really hit our Lucy hard. She loved all that stuff. So
I know you're not doing your videos now as well because your kids have aged out a little bit, but does Lucy still have an interest in Motu?
Jurassic Park always has been. It's always, if you go into Lucy's bedroom, Lucy's got shelves and shelves full of Jurassic World, Jurassic Park. She loves the dinosaurs, but she's getting to that age now where she's 14, 15 this year. So, but she'll pick one up still. And what she does is, I think, having a toy collector as a dad with shelves and stuff, that's what she does. So I made her some shelves for a bed. We did a bedroom up a couple of months back, and I did some shelves and put all her dinosaurs, and it looks cool the way she's done it. So she's got into that age now, lads, where she's not playing with them anymore, but she likes collecting them. She likes the look of them. And so,
really good Jurassic Park stuff, though. They have been
great stuff. Yeah, I'm really impressed with them. But I think that's what it all comes down to. It's funny because I think what we're not talking about is repro compared to this, because these aren't repros anymore. I think when you talk about, I think I class repos more as accessories for vintage stuff. That's but this stuff, you can't class this as repro, can you?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not really, because it's like what Luke said. It's not. For me, I've always liked, let's just say I've always loved Batman. Love the character Batman. So when I was a kid and I'd get Batman things in, that was fantastic. So I always had Batman toys to play with. But as an adult, I'm not really judging these companies, or I'm not judging prices, or I'm not judging if it was vintage, modern. I see a great Batman figure and I think, I want that figure. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It just sort of pulls into me. And it just makes me laugh. Like what you said about the 2000s. Well, where are they? How come these past 25 years there's been no new franchise that everyone's jumping on, and these figures are going through the roof? And it just seems to be, maybe we did. You know what? It might be a say, but maybe we just generally did live in the last golden age of proper cinema and cartoons and movies and music. Maybe we just did. That's not saying that there's not been anything great since, but we had it all great, all of it. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I think it's because we were younger, we were a bit more carefree, weren't we? We didn't have bills to pay and mortgages and all that, did we? We're all like,
and not as many distractions. Not as many distractions. No social media, no phones, no laptops, no internet. What we did with our days when we were at school was we either went out on your bikes, or you got your action figures, or if you did have a computer, it was a computer that you couldn't disappear online and talk to people in the States or Australia or whatever. It was a side-scrolling platform game that you finished in an hour, and you went out on your bike, or you played with your action figures in the garden or in your bedroom or whatever, because that's what we did.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it's the last thing that kids want to be doing generally.
Maybe that's because of the turn of technology, isn't it, and stuff. Do you know what kids have got today is like, I always said the same thing. If you'd have given me Battlefront 2 on the PlayStation at the age of 10, I would not have been interested in figures whatsoever. Do you know, I just wouldn't.
But no, I disagree with that. I disagree with that, Si, over the simple reason we did have that as kids. We had the Super Nintendo and we played Double
Dragon. But not like today, is it?
No, but I think the thing about it is, I think now we play it a lot longer because of the graphics and the storyline that they did. There's more of playing a video game now, like Uncharted, for example. It's like playing a movie, in it, to be honest. But a lot of people say that. But I remember playing sensible soccer as a kid, and this, or going to we were Blackpool lads going to the arcades, but it wasn't the be all and end all. You'd go out playing football with your mates. You'd go into the park. You'd go into it. You see what I mean? It was like, your video games back then, Si, was a part of everything else you did as a kid. Now it feels, it's like where I live. Like you've seen where I live, all the acres around me and the forest and the lakes and everything. Trying to get my kids outside. And as kids, I would never have been in if it was me. Now, my mum would have to drag me in because of the amount of stuff that's outside. But I think it's because they're not interested in toys and stuff like that. So what's the point going outside? I'm like, get your figures out and doing. Not interested. No. It's weird.
But again, though, they're still with all the mates inside, aren't they? That's the thing, isn't it? They're online. They've got all the friends on. There's about 20 of them all online, all playing games, all laughing, and so
all got their headsets on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's surreal because even though you say that, Mark, these games that we had as kids weren't half as immersive as what they are today.
I was just about to say,
today you are involved in these games. Do you know what I mean?
They're never ending. They're never ending. You finished a game when we were kids. You finished a game in an hour. Once it was done, you went outside. Now the games last forever.
I'm just going to catch up with the chat bit, guys.
We'd have a few races on Mario Kart, wouldn't we? Do a few like races, but now you can do the 24-hour Le Mans on Gran Turismo. So it's like in a whole setup.
Yeah, so it's like Streets of Rage. You'd finish it in an hour, then you'd go out on your bike. And the thing is, when you went out on your bike, you went to the next town. You went through forests. You went, you were out all day. Street lights come on is when you went home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kieran says my advice.
Sorry, pal.
It's all right, pal. He said my advice would be to collect the easy vintage and avoid vintage that doesn't survive years gone by. Adam says, for me, it's the fact that it's lasted so long. None of this stuff really should be. It was made to be played with and disposed of. So the fact that someone has survived and some of it is mint too. Gap says, Si, I'm sending you a message via my third eye. What am I saying? So
Shabby's a bell end.
Jason's here. Jason, hello, happy birthday, Jason. We'll say
happy birthday, yeah.
Our Des says, I'm lucky enough to have my vintage Star Wars toys from my childhood, but I'm enjoying adding vintage toys to it, which I didn't have, but also the love of modern Star Wars figures and vehicles. Hey, John's here, Delvian's here. I'm just going to get down a bit because if we're having a conversation, I want to make sure everybody's in it. Isn't there a gold master vehicle, modern?
Oh, they've re-released. They've done another Rhino in black and gold for the 40th anniversary. It is not for me. It looks scarish, if I'm honest. It feels like a bit of a cash grab.
Look,
it doesn't look great.
Terrible. So technically you never did one of those in original line then?
No, it's to celebrate the 40th anniversary. It doesn't look good.
It looks like it's sponsored by Playboy or Handsome.
It doesn't look good.
Some of the toys that we have in childhood, says Ardelvian, are about halfway to becoming antiques. They are right, though, because Star Wars is coming up to 50, innit? 50 years old. So
wow.
He's exactly right, yeah. Hey Rob, Trevor on the chat. Big howdy to all these four all-stars. Cheers. Switchblade is the one I wanted. Sold out. I don't think they're sold out yet over here, Tony. I think Big Bad Toy Store got the exclusive to do them first, and then after that. But I don't think they all sold out over here. I'm not sure. I didn't, like I said, once I saw the price at that place, I thought a bit much.
He did here the next day, like Luke said, Star Action figures, they were all there. I went, brilliant, I'm going to get a Switchblade. I've never had one. Went to order one the next day, gone. So
Star Action figures restocked. They sold out on the night within about an hour, and then restocked first thing in the morning and sold out again the very next day. Yeah,
gone. Won't be getting them, Dave, will we?
My only concern is the modern mask is will they still be intact after they've been around for 20 plus years, considering the plastic they are using?
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd like to think they would have made the mechanisms a tad more robust, but who knows? Yeah, who knows?
It's true.
Sometimes it's both ways. I mean, I got that 40th anniversary Soundwave last year from collecting Transformers, and I was really like, 40th anniversary Soundwave, this is going to be mint. And I got it, and I've never really been so disappointed in a figure in my entire life.
Oh, really?
Like, all the chrome's gone. There was no stickers with it. I mean, I know they do that grey now that's supposed to class as the chrome, but it just, to me, looks unpainted plastic. It just looks like half of it's been done, half of it hasn't. And whereas I should have got that 40th anniversary Soundwave and gone, oh my God, I was just like, yeah, great. Like, what the, I'm so disappointed in it. All because of like the lack of chrome and silly things like that, the crap they come out with. Do you know what I mean? Just to save money. It winds me up, things like that, because, if you are going to go on to vintage, it's like the Megatron that they've done. Transformers the movie, 40th anniversary, the G1 Megatron, but it isn't. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, well, why call it that? Just call it something else. It's not the Transformers the movie Megatron, is it? But these
they can't do the good
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Same. I got the new Ghostbusters because the retro was easy. You see, that's the thing. You especially those retro Ghostbusters, because do you remember the ones and the thin light? To find one, and the second one with his tie. Every tie we saw at Joe Fest, or every tie on eBay, you say he's gone. Every one of them. Do you know what I mean?
I've got the original, that's still got the tie intact. I've got it at Leicester Vintage a few years ago. I dare go in case it snaps.
Yeah. And the new Turtles Technodrome says Sags. I've never had any interest in the original vintage, but now the new retro is for sale for 30.
Yeah,
I'm getting. I picked up some of the retro Turtles because that was something I never got into. And Rob Retro, who's in the chat, he sent me a couple of them. So I thought, I'll just add a few more onto these and Krang and this. But they were $8.99. And then you watch a Pixel Dan, for example, I'm just hypothetically, and he's going around to these toy fairs seeing carded turtles for like $200, $300.
Yeah. You see, that's the point. I'm not massively into turtles. I mean, I've got a representation in my collection just because they were big at the time, but they were massively nostalgic to me. Yeah, I've bought all the reissues because I got them for 12 quid each, and I just thought I'll have them for 12 quid each on card. They display well, and I've got loose vintage ones in front of them, but I wouldn't have picked them up. There's no way I'd consider picking them up vintage original on card, but because I saw them at 12 quid each, I thought I'll have them for that. So, yeah.
Do you think the Turtles was the first? I know Star Wars had its like collecting ability, but do you think the Turtles were the first source after figures? Where I remember that Christmas where mothers couldn't get hold of half the Turtles and they couldn't get hold of the Turtle van, and kids were going bonkers. And if you found one of these Turtles, it was like golden.
They were massive. What was it? Late? Would they start 88, 89? They started
89, 89, wasn't it? Yeah.
They were massive at the time, weren't they? Yeah, I remember being merchandise everywhere as well. When I was.
I don't remember the figures being that sought after before the Turtles. I think do you not think it would be the Turtles that kick-started this all off?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe
the Power Rangers did it, and all sorts of other things.
Yeah. So even back then, though, that's early 90s, isn't it? And like I said, coming into the 2000s, these past 25 years, it's been extremely shallow for any sort of like franchises or new things. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe my ear's not too near the ground, but I can't see anything new that's been popular.
This was one of my questions, that Adams just wrote here. He said, by definition of the reproduction that just started, if Mask Line said it's been made by Kenner, that's fine, but would you class the new mask as a third party? Does that make a big difference to you? Right, for example, because Loyal Subjects is doing the new stuff and that kind of thing. Or do you say to yourselves, all three, no, it has to be the same brand that made it years ago, like Kenner Star Wars or Palatoy this or...
No. And I think that goes back to me what I just said about Batman. I look out for Batman stuff. So if I see a great Batman figure, I don't care who's made it, which company it's from. I'm not really that bothered about waves in collections. I just generally buy what I like. So because of that, no, I don't have any nostalgia for the same company, if you'll have me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think as long as they did a really good job and I thought they looked good. But I mean, Loyal Subjects have put Kenner on the box, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know. So no, I don't think it bothered me as long as I felt the figure or the vehicle or whatever it was looked right, looked good, and I don't think it bothered me too much.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because you walk through a toy. I mean, it's like if you walk through an 85 as a kid, and it's like what our side said before. You're looking at Transformers, Mask. Even my Pet Monster's back now by a little. They've even done that. Strawberry Shortcake, but it's now 2025, and there's nothing new. Do you think that's why toys is dying off a bit for generations below us? Is because it's like that's my dad's thing.
I do.
You do? Why?
Maybe.
Well, that's just what you said. I mean, there's nothing else more current that everyone's still collecting. You just look at what we all collect here. Luke's mask, size Batman, my crap here, all your display. It's all from the same era. And it could, in a few years' time, they might bring out another reissue of another toy line, and it'll still be something that came out in the 80s or the early 90s. Push the early 90s.
Yeah. Just if your mate went around your house now, Dave, if your mate come round, he wouldn't go, oh, look at all this modern stuff. He'd say, oh, Ghostbusters, Terminator, look at all your Batman stuff. Look at all. There'd be no mention of that.
Everything. I'm like you, I don't stick to one line. I'm not a completist. But
no.
I do have all harks back to growing up through
a
good time, the 80s.
Yeah.
We were spoiled for choice when it comes to toys back in the day, says Jono. Today's kids don't seem to have too much. But I think that's what it is, and it's funny, really. And I'll give you an example. So me and DTM went to Joe Fest last year, and it was the same for it this year. Savage Crucible, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, Delta 17, Skeletron, Marauders, LaCroix. You could go on and on and on about all these amazing new toy lines. I mean, they were amazing. Monster Force, you look, Super 7. You're looking at all this stuff. But they're very, very difficult to get hold of because I think we've all got this. I mean, regardless of, I know eBay came along and Marketplace and so forth, but I think we're old school walking down a toy aisle, aren't we, looking for stuff? And sometimes, because I remember saying to you, DTM, and I said it to Scuba this year, I was like, I never get into this sort of stuff, and I should do, but it's hard to get into because they're $40 a figure for one. They're independent. You've got to wait how many months to get into it, and it's an absolute fortune, and besides big bad toy stuff. But I think that's what it is because there's no movie, Si, and there's no comic. It's difficult to get into these new toys. I think for us and our generation, it's the trilogy, innit? It's the comic, it's the movie, it's the toy, And
I think there's no substitute. When we were kids, there's no you would be watching your cartoons or whatever you were doing, and you'd get the commercial. The beauty of it was, no matter what it was then, you saw the commercial, you knew you could go to the shop tomorrow and get that figure that you saw. Because if you didn't on your TV, it was in the shop. And you could do so. But now you see, I mean, obviously you're not going to see it on a commercial, but you see, whether you see it on social media or whatever, and like you just said, Shabby, you look and you go, oh, I want that. Oh, I can't get it for 6 months. Whereas you see an advert when you was a kid, tomorrow you could go, Mum, can I go to Woolworths? And it'd be there because you didn't see it until you could buy it. Whereas now,
but I think that's ruins it now, though, because I remember The Force Awakens. Now, I'm not talking about the movie, regardless of whether you like it or not. But one of the things I've always stuck by is that the atmosphere and the aura around that movie for Star Wars fans was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's the first, especially lads our age, that basically we were 2 or not even born with. So we've grown up with this franchise, And I remember Star Wars Fun Day. Toys R Us was doing a Star Wars Fun Day where it's in September. Now, the movie wasn't out till the 15th, I think, 15th of December. So you got 3 months. You walk in there, and they've got cosplayers all dressed as the new Stormtroopers and this. And you're like, this is awesome. And then you walk through this part of Toys R Us, and it is just smothered in Force Awakens stuff. I bought it all. I just went crazy,
I went mad. Yeah.
But it was so refreshing, Dave, that 3 months before, it reminded me of the blacked out Ewok syndrome, where you looked on the back of that card, and obviously you got Return of the Jedi figures before Return of the Jedi came out, and we were like, I think it adds that. But when you do the Mandalorian, you show Baby Grogu, and you don't get that figure, or you don't get any merchandise for that. Literally 18 months after.
A long time, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird. So I agree with that, Luke. It was always nice that, one of the refreshing ones for me was the new Batman movie, because I'd gone into Walmart after it. We were getting stuff for tea after we'd gone seeing it. And McFarlane had put his stuff out. I had a big pallet full of all the new Batman stuff. And that was really refreshing because, especially because it was that thing what you just said. You'd seen it. You can go out to the shop the next day and boom, there it is.
The best part, yeah. You'd see a film or a toy you liked or an advert. Go out, pick it up.
Yeah. And there's no substitute for walking down the aisle of a toy shop, is there? And looking at the wall and saying, what do I want? Oh, do I want that one? Or do I want that one? Yeah. There's no substitute for that. We don't have that anymore, Well,
why do you think that is? Why do you think we don't have it anymore?
Well, because it's at your fingertips now, isn't it? Obviously the internet is kind of, really, when you think about it, one day will we even need a high street at all? Because everything is at your fingertips, everything is at the touch of a button. You do not need to go out to a shop anymore. Why would retailers have massive overheads of stores when they can just have a big warehouse somewhere and just sell everything online? Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a good thing, but when you look at it now, I mean, I'm in a seaside town. You go into town now, where I live, and there is shops boarded up, left, right, and centre. It was booming when I was a kid. It was booming. I
definitely know that. Blackpool lads, you get fired from a job, you'd walk out, you go next door, and you get a job straight away. It was like that, wasn't it, Si, when we were kids?
Yeah.
Fish and chip shops and all the toy shops. I know it's funny that. Tony Z says, my 10-year-old still collects Mattel Jurassic Park. My 7-year-old is not interested in toys. Si, that's really funny. We take our Kobe and he's 12. He'll come out of Walmart not asking for anything. Not asking for anything. Nothing interests him. Do you know what I mean? At all. Because when we were kids, we'd pick up anything. Let's be honest. Didn't matter what it was. As long as we got something,
But again, that goes back to that everything was mint when we were kids. We had 30 cartoons that were great, 30 toy lines that were brilliant, 30 movies that we all loved watching. It wasn't like, how it is today, just occasional one.
And I think back then as well, everyone kind of tapped into it because I've said it before in one of my videos. We had a store in our town centre, and it was called Nixie Plonks. I don't know why it was called that. I don't ever know why it was. But you walk past the shop. It was a double-fronted shop, 2 big glass windows, double-fronted. And this was at a time when you could rent TVs. It had washing machines in the window. It had fridge freezers. You could rent TVs from it. All home appliances. We often went in there because my mum might need something for the kitchen or whatever. They had a toy aisle. There was nothing looking at the front of that store that would suggest there's toys in this store. But they knew that mum and dads would come in here with their kids to get a telly, to get a fridge, stick a toy aisle at the back. They had Visionaries, they had Mad Balls, they had G.I. Joes, they had Sectors, they had Supernaturals. We went mad in that store. And as soon as we were in there, we knew, Mum, can I get this? Mum, can I get that?
Well, you off license had them as well, didn't it, Luke? You'd go then, they'd have Star Wars, they'd have, everywhere sold them, if you will.
Your chemist. You went into your chemist. Yeah. They had toys, because they knew you'd be bringing your kids with you. Yeah.
This chat is labelled as an 80s toys. For context, says Jesse, do you consider an 80s or 90s property? It started in the late 80s, but the film released in 1990 of the bulk of toys and pizza craze occurred in the 90s. You talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I mean,
I think, like we said, it's the trilogy in its side. The film, I think the film definitely helped. Definitely. Because I think, I'm not a Turtles fan. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But wasn't the actual start of them comic side based on adult readers? It wasn't. It was a bit violent.
They were a bit darker. They weren't really. It was an independent. You know what I mean? It was a comic book that was wrote for fans of comic books, really, but just took off because it was just one of them mad ideas that just went through the roof. The comic book was quite a dark run. Again, I never read Turtle comics. This is all only a knowledge of what I've heard through the comic industry, but. It's like me, I didn't go back to the Turtles. Turtles was a little bit later for me, but I did love that first movie, that 1991.
Yeah.
Now, again, years later, NECA go and do a load of figures of that first movie, and they're absolutely fantastic. Now, the only reason that made me a modern buyer buying them is that they were released today and not back in 1990, or I would have bought them all then. And that's sometimes you can't help but be a modern collector because you generally are waiting for so long for things to come out, you know.
Yeah. Because you, like you say, you look at them and you go, I wanted them then. You know, I wanted them, and we didn't get them.
That's the point. Can you imagine when you were a kid and you went, for example, you wanted that new mask thing, Rhino, and your mum turns around and goes, "You can have it. Don't you worry, Luke. It's yours. Just wait 18 months for your pre-order."
I thought you were going to say just what you can have it when you're 40.
40 years when they release it.
That's the only thing for me. And sometimes, well, let me ask you all a question. Sometimes you think they put this stuff on a pedestal now to the pride, because sometimes you look at something, and I'm not going to diss the actual toys. Some of the toys that they've made that are really expensive are awesome. Of course, that's why they're selling. But they kind of put it on this pedestal thing when really what we're talking about is plastic. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the most like this and that, and no one else will ever get it. And it's so the marketing is like, if you don't get it, you're never gonna get it.
Well, that's it. Yeah, they want to instill the fear of missing out in you, don't they? Yeah.
And they class these things still as toys. Yet we have giant, massive warehouses, toy shops like Smith's, where none of these in. But they put them in little dingy, dodgy shops down alleys where smelly men go and buy these things from. Do you know what I mean? So you can't really work it out. Like if these were in these shops and, kids had these cartoons today and these sort of movies today, of course they'd get on board with it all. But they don't, do they? It's just, it's like one thing that makes money, throw everything at that one thing. Whereas back in the day of us, we had a lot more, there was a lot more about what ideas have you got, what have you come up with, and, wacky things. And now it doesn't seem to be any of that. It seems to be one thing, follow it, that's it. Marvel dominated the cinematic universe for comic books for the past 20 years. But how many comic books are there in different comic book houses? Why have Marvel just dominated? It's, you know what I mean? It baffles me sometimes where it's like now they're that frightened of something not working that they can't throw any money at it. Whereas back in my day, like I said, we all know this from the things we watched. Try it, do it. That's why we got so many ninja films, ninjas in space movies and stuff. Because people would just try stuff, wouldn't they?
Well,
everyone was hoping for that next Star Wars, weren't they?
I think that's what DTM meant before. When the 80s, for me, it was like competition. Everyone was in competition with each other. From movies to this, all the movies. I mean, it's funny now because apart from Marvel movies and one or two Star Wars movies when they can be bothered, when was your other genre big blockbuster movie? Like your big blockbuster, it wasn't Marvel, DC, Star Wars, or Jurassic World, stuff we've had for 40 years. Do you see what I mean? But the thing about the toy company back then, if you try to have a look at everything from Mask to Star Wars, all different genres, all different sizes, all different. It was like, they've made that, right, we're going to make it. It's like they wanted to compete again. And I think that's what kept it going. Do you think, DTM? That's what...
I think so, yeah. They were, I mean, like the movies, they all sort of had a similar theme, didn't they? If one went to space, another one would go to space.
Yeah.
If one were an Indiana Jones style movie, there'd be a copy movie of that similar sort of genre, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They were all... One did one thing and one did the same thing, but one always came out on top, didn't it? The ones we remember, the Goonies, Indiana Jones, Star Wars. There were always the competition out there, but there's always the ones now that you remember the most. And that's
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's what it is. And that's a good segue to this. This Richie, hi Richie, by the way, thanks for coming in. We've had up to 45 all night, so thank you all so much. This is awesome. Got the new Star Wars TVC land speed arriving tomorrow. Do you collect new TVC or just vintage? That's what the story's about, Richie. Is there much of a difference? I don't think any of us have classed ourselves as either vintage or modern, have we? Because for example, that new TVC land speeder is beautiful.
It is good.
Really nice,
Yeah. I've picked up TVC along the lines of things I've really liked. Like the Endor Bunker, I absolutely love that thing. That TIE Advanced, I think that's a definite for a lot of us. That new Darth Vader TIE Advanced that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I buy things that I really, really like. So I'm not just physically TVC, but talking about the figure side of it. If I was to start collecting Star Wars again, they would probably be the 3.75s I collected more than I would going back and trying my best now to get all the first lot in, because again, price for some of them figures is just gone through the roof,
Yeah.
So, and I think it'd be a lot harder now to try and find like sort of as the days go by than what it would have been 5, 6, 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's because of the TVC.
I'm glad you brought this up. So it's a good conversation, this. I'm enjoying this. This is pretty good. Playmobil is largely aimed at children's market, but they have catapulted the adult collector 100%.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, me and Luke, we bought all the pop culture ones, didn't we? And listen, what kid's going to go, oh, I'm yearning for the Knight Rider car, or can't wait for the 18 van. You know?
I mean, I can appreciate Playmobil. We had bits of it when I was a kid, but I certainly wouldn't collect it now if they hadn't brought out the 80s sets. Now, I've said before, I class myself as largely a majority vintage toy collector, and I'm no longer committing to modern lines. But that doesn't mean to say that I won't buy modern stuff, because I will. There is still modern stuff that comes out that I just go, there's no way I can resist that. The mass stuff, there was no way I was ever going to resist those.
The Motu stuff you bought.
The Motu stuff I bought until they started getting a bit, they started getting a bit exclusive. You have Mattel Creations, once they started getting difficult to buy, I kind of thought, I'm out. And once I'd got all the ones I remember, they're the characters I recognise. I've got those. I don't remember Sunman and all that. Who were there? I don't know. So once I'd done that, I was happy. But then the second I saw, there's no way I weren't going to get an A-Team set in Playmobil. No way. Because the figures are obviously they all have that similar look. They change the detail on them so you can identify who it is. But for me, there aren't many toy lines that get the vehicles right like Playmobil have. Playmobil
the DeLorean.
Magnum
PI did a Ferrari, and like what Kat's saying right here, she said, yeah, but Keith, is it an adult or child market? That's the difficult one for Playmobil, because until I saw that Back to the Future one, I always admired Playmobil, and I always tell the story of man and size cousins had it when we were kids, but it was something I never, until I saw that, because it hit us straight away. And then when you heard they were doing 18 and they're doing Knight Rider, Magnum.
Absolutely nailed them.
Absolutely.
All 80s stuff. I think they might have done a James Bond car, or
they did GoldenEye. I mean Goldfinger. I've got that, the Aston Martin. Now, granted, they were pricier, but the thing about it, I only bought that PlayStation, that DeLorean from Playmobil DTM because it was 25 quid. And you never, for some reason, Playmobil is just not sold in America. I think Barnes & Noble, which is more like a bookshop, sells Playmobil. Other than that, you never see it in Walmart. You never see it in Target ever, except for this one time. And I think that's why I saw it, because I thought, Playmobil here, it's a very European thing. It really is. I think there's only me, Thousandth Ghost, and I think Super Awesome gets it now, that do it over here. So I bought it, and I would have paid the $50, $60 it was. I would have paid it because the amount of detail and everything else. And then you got the calendar and the exclusive ones. And I said, the whole Back to the Future is all across one of my shelves. I got the whole set. So, but that was definitely aimed at us. There's no way you convince me.
No 10-year-old know what the A-Team is. Let's be fair. There's been no cartoons. There's nothing new. I've not seen any cartoons of the A-Team on Cartoon Network or anything, or a new kids show.
There was a Mr. T cartoon once upon a time, weren't there? I don't remember if it had a connection to the A-Team, but I know there's a Mr. T cartoon.
Well, that's it. So when the dad and his son went into Smith's and the kid's picking his nose looking at all the Minecraft stuff, it was definitely his dad looking at that 18 van on Playmobil going, I've got to pick up that van. Because it's something that's like me. I've never looked at Playmobil in my life. And yet all of a sudden I've got the 18 van and I've got the Starship Enterprise and I've got the bloody Back to the Future cars. And I'm like, this is how good of a job them lot did. And that's how you should market stuff.
If they do another one, I'll buy another one.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I've still with the pop culture of them, but I mean, the Asterix stuff, I mean, thankfully, Scuba and Des picked me one up, and when Scuba went to American, but because they never sold it, Asterix isn't big over here at all. But I was like, what? An Asterix set for Playmobil? That's brilliant, These little intricate things that they're doing. I just found it, and like I say, I've always said, Lego to me just prices me out. It really, I mean, I bought the Jaws Lego, and I always buy a Lego set made for Christmas. I asked the kids or my wife to get me one. So the Imperial Shuttle I got, the BD one I got, and this year I got the Jaws thing, because I just can't fathom spending 150, 200 quid on Lego. I just can't do it.
No, Lego is pricey, innit? I mean, I like
so expensive,
pricey.
Yeah.
Ellen's got massively into Lego at the moment. She's bringing home another set every other week now.
Really? I mean, it's great. It's great.
But it goes back to what I said before, but I watched this Canadian guy called Bricks, and he's got this huge warehouse, and he's made this huge city. I'm fascinated by it. Do you know what I mean? So, in other words, sometimes we say it in our community, don't that we live through other collectors. You know what I mean?
Oh,
we can,
absolutely.
because they've got it. Are there any modern lines we buy, Jono says, actually aimed at kids? No, 20, 30 quid a figure, 100 to 350 quid a vehicle. It's not really kid friendly.
It's not.
Is that why they're doing it, Si? You think they're just pricing kids out?
Again, it goes back to the original conversation at the start of this stream, whereas even when we're just talking now about Playmobil, whereas they must have had a massive successful year doing all that stuff. But again, it's modern turned to vintage. It's all vintage stuff that's been modernized and everyone's jumped on again. I look at things, and outside of Back to the Future, kids of today aren't going to know what Magnum is. They're not going to know what the A-Team is. Do you know, they're not, are they? They're not, even though they're on television, they're not like what they were when we were 10 years of age. 40 years has passed.
Yeah.
So it's funny one. It's a funny one. It really is. Like, how did Playmobil do outside of this? Did this? I mean, obviously they're as successful as Lego are, really, but did this boom them up and make them think, hang on a minute, if we start making all this stuff from the 80s, we're going to like...
Well, it must have been sad, because you just answered your own question there, kid. When you said you're not interested at all, but when you saw these franchises that you loved, you had no... You were like, you've never bought Playmobil before, but you thought, I've got to get that. Do you know what I mean?
Luke said, we all saw that 18 van, we all went, that's coming on with me. Every single one of us. Do you know what I mean? It was
Knight Rider, Magnum, Susan
Well, the Ghostbusters Firehouse, the Haunted Mansion that Scooby-Doo. I mean, there's some... Playmobil do some quality stuff. And then you got our Keith on here, and you got Keith showing what he's going to do in his shed and all that sort of stuff. So again, you just admire it from afar, don't you? Yeah. Tony says, we don't have it anymore because of The Last Jedi. Killed off stores, ordering in massive amounts to put toys on pegs. So again, like I said, my policy has always been, whether it's right or wrong, the trilogy, is it that movie killed off the toy line, do you reckon?
No. Killed off Star Wars toy lines, I think.
Maybe.
But I'm not going to stop buying Batman and stuff like that because the prequels were crap. I mean, the sequels were crap. That didn't put me enough. I can understand being a Star Wars fan and buying all this stuff and spending all these thousands, and then that's what they've given you for the past 10 years, and you're expected to still carry on buying this thing with a smile on your face. I find that a little bit distasteful, really, but I think it only affected Star Wars buyers.
Yeah,
this is a good point.
But, I mean, sorry, Shabby. Just going back, was it? I don't know if it was. I'm not sure who put the comment in now, but they were saying about prices and not aimed at kids because it's 30 or 40 quid a figure or whatever. But do you think that's got something to do with it? Because when we were kids, our pocket money would be able to buy you a figure.
£1.50 on it for your mum.
Your pocket money could get you a figure. Obviously pocket money is a bit... Do kids get pocket money anymore? I don't know. But even if they do, whatever pocket money you're giving your kid every week or every month ain't going to buy you an action figure now, is it? Or ain't going to buy them an action figure.
But I think going back to when we were kids, Luke, is why Sectars didn't work, because there's a Sectars documentary on YouTube, and it's fantastic, and it says that they've put when they did it and they packaged it and so forth, they put it right next to a Star Wars, which is £1.50, G.I. Joe £1.50, He-Man £2.50, there's £5-6. So mums were like, I ain't buying it. Do you know what I mean?
Some of it was more, and it was the same as Centurions, because the amount of tooling that went into them and all the outfit packs you got with them and all that lot, they were like Centurions were like 10 quid a figure in 85. It just weren't happening. No. But that documentary on Sector is a brilliant watch. Really good. Really
brilliant watch.
To hear how the hand puppets came about, because I always forget his name, but he made a fly in a glove, didn't he? And he started putting on people's shoulder in a Halloween party, and that's how the idea came. Yeah.
If the Mandalorian TV show had been made back in the 80s, I can guarantee, says Kieran, that Disney would have made a cartoon spin-off and the UK would have had a weekly comic book. That's what made the trilogy, in it. I agree with that. It's the whole chicken and egg.
Ask as well, does anybody else have any questions as well? Because I did say, put some questions together. So has anybody else got anything they want us down a question or anything?
I've put a few down. It's just whenever we can sort of
jump in whenever. This is Shabby's, in it. Yeah, like I say, you jump in when you want, when you got something to say.
Yeah.
Well, a few of my questions are maybe off the beaten track. So if there's a natural sort of point to bring them in, I will do. Yeah, I will.
The original Turtles comics was aimed at kids. Yeah, everything was aimed at kids, wasn't it? So yeah, Boots even had a computer section in the multi-floor where I lived. Richie says my greatest memory is walking into Brody's, Bethnal Green Road, looking at racks and racks of Star Wars figures. Them pictures, it's the pictures for me in it, lads. When you see and just roll, I think that's why I'm a big fan of Ollie's. To tell you the truth. Is because it's rows and rows and rows of toys. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why it hits me hard, Ollie's. Yeah, the prices are brilliant and so forth, but it just reminds me of an old school toy shop. It's just filled, you know?
Yeah. It's one of them. I mean, I love, at first, I mean, I was purely Star Wars, but since, 5-6 years on YouTube and meeting all you guys, the diversity now that is sort of come into my collection, I absolutely love how diverse my collection is now.
Yeah.
And one thing, actually, this is from Rachel, so I'll throw in a question now that she sort of said to me the other night, and I thought that's quite interesting because I've got toy lines and figures in my collection now that I think it's really interesting. So we'll all have pre-existing memories of certain toy lines. Shabby, you'll probably long remember playing with Motu when you were a kid, and you know, Dave, you probably remember Ghostbusters, Side Batman. You'll have all these memories, and you grow up and you go, I want to get those things again. But do you have anything in your collections that you've completely forgotten and probably would never have remembered if you hadn't have seen it somewhere, and then you saw something and it went, I remember that.
Yeah.
I've got one toy line in my collection that I would have never ever have remembered again ever if I hadn't have seen something. And then it unlocked a memory. So have you got any lines or toys in your collection that you don't remember from a kid, but you saw something on a video or in a shop and you were like, "That I remember that now, and I've got to buy it." Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
I was watching a video. It was VTR days. And the next thing, Shabby phones me up.
Answer for that guy, hasn't he?
He's always him. Shabby phones me up. He says, "Have you not seen them figures that he's just shown in that video?" And I said, "What are you on about?" He said, "Them videos that are in that white packet." I said, what figures? So I've gone back and watched the day's video, and I'm thinking, I don't know what these figures, I can't remember them. And that following night, I'm sat there, and it's hit me like a brick that these figures that we used to have like shoulder pads on, and used to click the legs together. And they were just, I couldn't tell you what they were called, Luke, but I did not remember them for 40 years. So I saw that video. It was Mark that sparked it up for me and said, "Do you not remember them?" And at first, even then, I didn't. And then
so don't we know what they are? I'm trying to think.
What were they, Mark? What were them figures? Yeah, the shoulder things in.
It was the ones we had was that exact one. It was a knockoff of a Remco toy line, and the Remco ones you could take their arms and legs off and do. You know, it had big boots, and basically it was Remco's version, I think, of like Inhumanoids. And I had never seen this figure at all, or thought about it. It's like because we must have had either one or two. I remember the white and red one, and I remember a purple one. And then VTR showed it in the video, and I paused it and took a picture of it and sent it to our site, and our site went, "Oh my God!" But then VTR said to me that he actually went back to that guy, Simon. It was £130 that figure, and it was a knockoff one. Do you know what I mean? But it was that expensive. So yeah. I do remember that.
You do the toy fair a lot, don't you? Look at them stalls, and I remember there being a Space Captain Harlock, and it was a bendy. And again, I haven't seen that figure since I was about 8. You know, and it used to always live at my grandma's house, that figure, and that's how I remembered it. But again, something that 40 years, Luke, not even thought, never even seen it, and then there it is, and it just bang comes straight back to you, doesn't it?
I had something similar happen to me the other week. I was thinking about this toy line. I hope I hadn't imagined it, but it was like this jellified elastic sort of
stretchy. You threw him against the wall?
Yeah, but then it came with armour to put on it. You had a helmet, snap-on armour, but underneath with this floppy skeleton rubber thing that could stick to anything. You don't remember them?
No, I don't.
I'm sure my mum gave me drugs.
I do remember the ones where you threw him against the wall, but I don't remember the armour or DTM.
Like you were saying, shoulder pads. It had shoulder pieces, gloves, masks. I think they only did a few, but
yeah,
I could be wrong. But I can't for life remember what they were called. And Google's cheating. I won't do that.
Well, I mean, a lot of these questions. I mean, because I sort of look at my own collection and I think, you know, that'd work quite well. But the one toy line that's in my collection now that I am adamant I would never, ever, ever have bought, because I wouldn't have remembered it, is the Infaceables. And that came about because Steve Darby sent me a picture of a big vintage toy haul he'd got. Because he buys things off Marketplace. He'll just get
the ones with the rubber and it goes across the face. Right. We had them as kids.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
had them. Mm-hmm.
And he got this big job lot, and he messaged me and he went, "Oh, I've just got this job lot off. Do you know? Any idea what this is? I don't know what it is." And he sent a picture of the Iron Lion, which is the leader of the sort of good guys.
Yeah.
And the second I saw it, I was like, I know that figure. I would never remembered it. It had gone out of my mind long ago.
Yeah. What were they again?
Say that again.
What were they called again?
Infaceables.
I'll
see if I can find a picture now while you lot are talking.
They were Italian. They were made in Italy. They were, I'm trying to think of the company that made them now. But I think they were another toy line that two companies had sort of done them. I think Tonka had done them, and possibly there was another company. But they were made in Italy. And the gimmick was that they had a latex face. They had a plastic head, but a latex face over the front. And you could pull the body up and then push the body back down, and it created a vacuum. And the skull in the back, behind it had like little holes, and so the face would look human. And then when you pull the vacuum, it sucks it into the skull, and then it might look like a lion or a skeleton or a whatever.
It's definitely ringing a bell.
That's them. That there.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah,
that's one of them.
Over time, the latex face disintegrates, and so trying to get them with the face still intact is really difficult because they just perish over time. So you usually find them with just a white plastic head without the skin on. But if you can find them with the face still intact, but they're just a line that I completely forgot.
Yeah.
And I'm just missing one now, which is Iron Lion. But yeah.
And they are intact, Luke. Have they still got
I've got all the. I think there's 8. I've got 7, and they've all got their faces still on. Some are a little bit split here and there,
right?
But they've all got. I mean, I don't do the vacuum thing because they'll just dissolve. But they've all got their faces. Yeah, I need one more.
It's funny though, isn't it? It's like the Big Yellow Teapot. For some reason, I watched Leicester Vintage. They were going around Sandown or one of the NEC toy fairs that you've got. And Joe and Gav were talking, so that's how long ago it was. And behind them was a yellow thing sat on a thing, and I was looking at it like that. Bloody hell, that's the Big Yellow Teapot. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's funny, isn't it? That listen, it's not a toy that I remember, but I think we all had one. So I said to RSI, because it's Bluebird that made them, and they were never sold over here. And so I said, well, I'll have a look because Jamie, my other brother, wants one as well. And I said, well, if you can have a look, Simon, Scooby Pete finds one over here. Sends it to me, and I'm like, but you are right. So it's things like that for some reason it's a visual, in it, or you see somebody's video, or you go to a toy shop, and boom, there it is.
Unlocked a memory, and all of a sudden it was there, and I remembered how it worked. I remembered what the play feature was. I remembered everything about it, but there's no way I'd have ever remembered it if he hadn't shown me this picture. It was gone. No way. But sorry, Epic Badges put it. They were Galoob. That's right, they were Galoob. Yeah.
So in answer to Luke's question, I saw an old video of my bedroom and saw a G.I. Joe vehicle I would have bet my house on I would never have had as a kid. That's funny, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like you in that Jason the Wild Warriors. I saw him at Joe Fest, and bloody hell, these things are pricey, man. Yeah. But how you've got into that? Because I know. So I don't think we had any Jason the Wild Warriors, did we? The
no, I didn't when I was a kid. Didn't, but I watched the cartoon a lot. And I loved the cartoon. And then I don't even know how that came about. I just remember sort of thinking one day, I loved the cartoon as a kid. Why have I not got any of these toys? So of course that was kind of that. I mean, everyone knows now how easily influenced I am. Kieran Ball, if he's in the chat, he pokes me with a stick all the time. Just what you getting now, Luke? That's new. But they are pricey, and if I'm honest, at the moment, I'm picking them up overseas wherever I can because they're so much cheaper.
Yeah.
Hi, Emma. Emma Guppy's here. We've had so many people here. I think it's interesting. And I like this. I like the style that we're doing it in. You know what I mean? That there's no one's right, no one's wrong, and what we've come across it as. Because when Si told me we were doing this, I was like, oh, this is good then, because you have to respect people's opinion. We all collect so differently. Do you know what I mean? There's no. I've always thought that. When people start kicking off over toys and prizes, and I'm like, well, I don't really. You know what I mean? You're not held by it. So
we all have differences of opinion. Don't we all have likes, dislikes, different views. Yeah, as long as you keep it. We're just guys collecting toys, aren't we?
There's a few more people in the chat that are new, so thank you for coming in. That's really nice that you've joined in and so forth. The links to DTM Collectibles and our Luke Reynolds Reviews there. Connor's put them up in the chat as well, but the links to their channels, because they're awesome channels. They've got great toy videos. It's down in the description. So if you like these lads, you're more than what. Brilliant. Mantech was that there you go. Mantech site was called that Remco line. He had all the field guns.
I knew I'd like a line called Mantech.
Never heard of that.
So Simon, but what I mean though, Arcade is the one that we got was the knockoff of that. So it's a knockoff version of that.
Against what Luke says, it's amazing that just what disappears, and then again through this community, let's be fair for all four of us. Yeah, we see it all the time, don't we? Sometimes your mates can pull something out and you go, oh my God, we see it all the time, don't we? Yeah. And it's another one that baffled me when Andy Lemire, he sent Mark a little corgi yacht. It's like a little speedboat yacht. Yeah. The captain with his glasses, and the other one sort of like, I have not seen that since I was about 7 years of age.
Good call, Si.
Madness,
and I was like, my God, do you know what I mean? It's amazing what resurfaces.
Yeah. He said, "You think about a vintage line? I've probably got it. He probably has, hasn't he? Because as kids, we always had one or two of everything. It's like what Luke said, because it was a cheap. Yeah. Mums had no issue with it because it was cheap, wasn't it? Or just And
sometimes I get a bit thrown as well, Mark, because there was four of us, and we all had a lot of mates. We all had mates each, and they'd all be around the house, and they'd all be bringing their own figures and stuff. And sometimes they'd leave an Action Force, and so I remember these figures, but I don't remember ever buying them. Or my mum going for Action Force, but there'll be a some blood there, or a red shadow will be there. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that just goes down to, I think my mates must have just left him when we were kids. Took all the stuff on but left one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, CJC's just put there that he's still got his childhood Bigfoot. I picked up a Bigfoot a few months ago now, and again, that was something I'd completely forgotten about. And then once I got it in hand, the second I took it out of the box, I immediately started thinking there was more of these. But Galoo brought out the animal, and then they brought out the Swamper. I was like, these were all together. I remember these were all out at the same time competing against each other. Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant.
It says teapots, dolls, pink horses, shabby definitely has an interest. But that's where I will say the full nostalgia for that comes from. It's just pure memories, pure nostalgia, the gem thing. Do you know what I mean? That's what it was. It's just vivid memories of that. And then meeting her, again, going back to trilogies, adding more stuff on and how nice that lady is. It just carries it on. So I wish I had all
she said stalking. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
I wish I had all the Christmas catalogues. How good were catalogues when we were kids?
It was the greatest time ever at Christmas.
Brilliant. Yeah. And worth the money.
Can I ask you lot something? When I used to do that at Christmas and go for the catalogue, when your mum would say, right, pick something, I'd always do mine under the tree. I don't know why. I used to get it right under the tree, and I'd be right under the tree. That's where I'd do it. And I don't know why, but I did it for years. Mark off my Christmas stuff under the tree.
I think I used to curl up next to my mum on the sofa and do it because I wanted to see what I was circling in what order. One first choice, second choice, third choice.
Well, it's nice though that mums didn't break the bank though on it as well. Let's be fair, it's a good thing maybe kids aren't into all this stuff today. Because by the time you've bought 6 figures and the play set and a few vehicles to go with it, you're looking at a couple of grand.
Well, us four, so we more or less have had the same upbringing, let's be honest. Do you know what I mean? And I think the love of it comes from. I've always said, it wasn't until I got older and had 4 kids myself how hard our mum works. Bringing up 4 boys.
You realise, don't you? Yeah.
And that's where my love of Christmas comes. I have no issue saying it. My love of Christmas not comes from me having my own kids, whatever. Because every Christmas as kids, we got a shitload. Star Wars, this and like I say, you'll probably do it as well, Luke. You having your Joe, and he'll get stuff, and you got. So in other words, everything was like that.
Yeah, we used to try to. Well, I say we tried to appreciate stuff more, I suppose, when we were kids, because we knew that everything had to be bought twice. Yeah, everything had to be bought twice, and you think, how hard must our parents be working? Because if we wanted them Reebok pumps, or if we wanted that, bloody Sandcrawler or Slave 1, had to be bought twice,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So you think we used to get rake loads of stuff, and it all had to be bought twice. So you just think, fair play, yeah.
Just get excited.
My mum had her head on because there was 4 of us, so it felt like we had everything. But the truth was, each one of us would get a couple of things in.
Yeah,
so
imagine that.
But my mum knew to get different ones. She knew there were different Star Wars figures and different vehicles. So
that must be even better. Because you think there was 4 of you, and your mum did it on her own. Think, unbelievable that, unbelievable.
Yeah. And she did it.
Were you going to say something, DTM?
Yeah, it's a similar thing for me. I mean, there were 4 lads and 1 lass when we never had a lot of money. My dad or stepdads, they were all just bringing in what they could, and
it
were more about going to the town. And Huddersfield had an absolutely outstanding toy shop. It was called Toy Box. It was in this little indoor market. There for years. They were all about just going there and seeing what you could have. It never came away with much. Sometimes I'd come back with a plastic sword in a little plastic sheet.
Do you remember them size?
But just going in, you could see all the Airwolf die-casts hanging, the Gremlins and all that kind of thing. And I think that's what I've tried to recreate in my collection, like stuff that I saw when I was a kid. And I wanted to
do you reckon that's where the love of it comes from, though, DTM? Because I remember, Luke, you said something. For those that don't know, you have a good a trainer collection. You have a really nice ones and so forth. And your story behind that was, see, I do listen, Luke. I do listen. Do you know what I mean? But your story was, these were all the trainers and stuff you loved as kids, and you got into a position where you could get them again. Do you think that's where our love of toys comes? Because we love these things so much as kids. We've put ourselves in positions now where we go, I'll have that, I'll have this, I'll have that.
The trainers, I've said before, I think if you collect, we all collect toys, but I also think that also means you've got a collecting personality. And I think sometimes, without even realising it, it branches into other things. You also realise, Am I a trainer collector? I just don't realise I'm a trainer collector.
Yeah.
I think you have, that collective personality that branched out into other things. The reason why I started getting the trainers that I was getting was because I always wanted them as a kid. Now, toys is different because I had a lot of these toys when I was a kid. But the trainers I've started buying were all trainers I wanted when I was at school but never got. And that certainly isn't a slur on my mum and dad because, if we wanted Jordan 5s when we were kids, again, they had to buy 2 pairs. And even back then, they were about 80 quid a pair.
Yeah.
So they were pricey.
You were never going to get them. Reebok pumps, we just weren't going to get them. And that, mum and dad worked really hard. So I now buy trainers I wanted when I was a kid but never got.
Yeah.
And once I got into adulthood, I was like, I can own these now. I don't wear them. Rachel thinks I'm bonkers because I'll pay obscene amounts of money for trainers and she'll go, "You're going to wear these ones?" No, you're an idiot.
Yeah, but you've got
them. It's just like that. You're an idiot. Like, of course not. I just want to own a pair. I never had anyone as a kid. I just want to own them. And the thing is, if you wear them and wreck them, some of them you just won't get again. They're hard enough to get hold of now. Some of them you just won't get them again. So if I wore them and wrecked them, I'd never forgive myself. I got like a pair of Patrick Ewing. I've got a pair of Patrick Ewings. Now I always wanted some Ewings. My mates used to go.
Remember the little basketball you got with him in 33 on the back? I know exactly which one. I loved them.
They used to come home from holidays in America with these Ewings on. They wear them to school. I was like, anyway. So,
I did it with British Knights 2 years ago, Luke. I couldn't believe. Again, going back to the toy thing, what Si was saying before, I couldn't believe they still made them. And I saw an advertisement. I thought, what? So I went on Amazon of all places, and there they were. And they were dirt cheap, and I know why they're dirt cheap because they're made of plastic. And honestly, I wore them once. I've never worn them again. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. The methane coming out of my shoes was just awful. Do you know what I mean?
It's one of them. And I managed to pick up this pair of Ewings. That it was an anniversary, like a special edition pair, when Patrick Ewing left the Knicks and he signed for the Toronto Raptors. So they did this particular set where it's like a blue Patrick Ewing trainer with stars all over the toes and things like maple leaves all over them and things like that. And I managed to get a pair of them. And she's like, "Are you going to wear them?" No. It's like, there's no way I'll get another pair of them. There's no way I'm going to wear them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've looked a tool in them. Some big 6'2" drink of water with these Patrick Ewings on. I'd look like an idiot.
Like cricket pads, aren't they?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Sounds like cricket pads, yeah.
Yeah, but you won't get another pair, so it's just one of them. But
Luke
yeah,
also does have a great wardrobe of 80s sweatshirt. You do. Some of the ones you wear. You know what I mean?
Des always comments on my sweatshirts. Yeah.
He said, Adam says, I don't just collect toys, lads. He said he collects vinyl, comic books, air show programs, and movie stuff, which is where my collecting started. Well, it's funny that because a lot of people say, where does your collection start? Do you remember where you started collecting? I don't.
I do.
I just always done it.
Rachel's responsible for my collecting as an adult. Rachel's responsible for it. I've never lost my love for vintage toys. Growing up, I often used to think about my childhood and think about the stuff I had. Never really considered buying it again. And I maintain the very, very first thing that I got, which led me to where I am now, was back in maybe 2011, 2012, I had to have some time off work due to an operation I had to have.
Yeah.
And me and Rachel had not long been seeing each other. And bless her, she took a lot of time sort of taking care of me while I was recovering. And, we weren't living together at that point, but she spent any downtime she had, she would come and she would help me prepare meals. She would even sort of make sure my bedding was clean and I could get dressed because I was struggling to get dressed and stuff. Bless her, she helped me out. But while I was recovering, I had a birthday. And she picked me up. I don't know what the actual official term of it was, but it was what I would call a mid-range Luke Skywalker Jedi, Return of the Jedi lightsaber from Argos, I think it was. Not one of the Master Replica ones. It was like a mid-size one, but it lit up and it had all the lights and sounds and everything. And you waved it around, it made the swooshing noises and all that. And it was like, this is the best birthday present on the planet. So whenever she weren't around, I would light it up and I was swinging it around. I was like, this is great. I wonder what else they do. Yeah. So of course, jumped onto the internet. Oh, they do a Vader one and they do a blue Luke one. Right, I'll get them. They do Master Replica ones there. Oh, they're proper. Right, I'll get one of them. And then all of a sudden, I was like, they still sell vintage Star Wars figures. Right, I'll get one of them. And then all of a sudden, so I maintain that was the very first piece, and Rachel is fully responsible.
It's all her fault. It's all her fault. MSC's here. Hi, MSC. My mum was an agent for a great Universal catalogue, so I would get my toys and annuals through the post with my mum paying them off weekly. They still do that over here. I saw Cat and G-Force talking before, and Walmart still do a layaway at Christmas, which I think is lovely. So you go into Walmart, you buy all your stuff, and then you pay a deposit, and then every month, every week, and you got up to Christmas Eve to do it. Now, when my two little ones were little, it was perfect for me, perfect, because we just got back to the States, and do you know what I mean? We go in there and and it was brilliant because you can pick out what you want, and it's not as if you had to pay a set price either. So if one week you were too many bills, whatever, you'd pay $50, week after $300, and so by the time Christmas Eve comes, and Walmart still do that to this day. I think it's a lovely thing.
Great, that's
no interest either, Luke. No interest.
That's super Christmassy. That you do stuff like that.
Well, that's how our mum got through Christmases when we were kids year after year, by putting into thingy. She paid for it every single month, and then come December she'd get like loads of money back, and she'd get all the Christmas in with that. And she used to do it for years when we were younger. Just so to make sure with her being on her own, all four of us had a great Christmas. And I'll always respect my mother for that. Always.
Yeah, I think we've all, like I said, DTM, our Luke, G-Force was saying it. I think there's a lot of us out there. I think I've said this millions of times, Simon, but I think we all have to look at our an older person in our life to get us into toys, because we weren't going out buying them, were we? It was somebody that was doing it for us,
Well, if my mum was running out getting all these Star Wars stuff, that considers her, in my eyes, to be like the best collector out of all of us. She knew what she was buying, she knew what to get, she knew where to get it from, knew how to get it cheap. She wasn't stupid, so because of that, I always considered that mums of the 80s were the best collectors, because they never let you down, did they? Ever.
And that's a good segue, that side, because I mean, this is a question that I haven't written this one down, but it kind of opens it up. We've all got partners now. We've all been collecting for a long time. I've found, and I'll ask you this guys as well, you can tell me about your partners. Rachel, by default, has a serious knowledge now of something that she has no desire to have. But she now has a real knowledge of certain things. So I can't remember. I said something the other night, some reference to a toy, and she went, "Oh, that's Mattel in it," and I went, Yeah, it is. And she was like, "Oh my god, where'd that come from? Oh, kill me." She's like, "What is?" But she knows stuff. Do your partners show any like maybe interest? But
are you kidding?
Any not? Well, no. But what I mean is, has she developed a knowledge without realizing it?
No.
I suppose Helen has a little bit. Yeah. When I mention something, she'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'll give you my 23 years of marriage. She does not give a shit at all. She couldn't care less.
I was telling Rachel earlier how I said Shabby's always mentioned how I think like you and Jen have a lot of similarities. I said one of the things he always says that makes me laugh all the time is that if he sees something, he does this sharp intake of breath of like I've seen, and he said first thing Jen goes is it mega rare?
Yeah. Has it got a card back? Has it got a card? That's a new one. Has it got a card back? Is a card back cool? Has it got a new card back? And all like that. Do you know what I mean? I get it all the time. But that's one of the reasons why, in a way, I stopped the videos so you can went to live streams, because I loved that aspect of her coming on, because the whole persona is she just didn't care. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, this is genius, you know. But no, she's always been one of them, my missus, and she's very supportive, and you know, and I think after years of doing it now, she's just so used to it. And I will give her credit. She's always been supportive. She's never made me feel little doing it, ever. I've never felt because you hear some stories, don't you, in our collecting world, that people can be made to feel this big, you know what I mean? And it's true. When I was in the suit game, I never told anybody where I worked that there was a toy collector, whatever. I remember one of the lads coming around. He was going to a function, and I had some suits made that were in my house, and he came round to my house for him. And he came around and he saw the toy. I only had a small toy room in the Burnley. That's the house I lived in. He was shocked. He was like, "No way." Do you know what I mean? He's like, "Is this you?" You know what I mean? I always kept it to myself, if you will. But I think a lot of us did. That's why we've become so close on this, hasn't it? Yeah, exactly, DTM.
Yeah. Until I started meeting up with you guys and what have you. And that's how.
It's a lonely hobby, isn't it? Or it was.
It was, yeah.
You know, a lonely hobby. But I just think there's certain elements that are fascinating. Because, I mean, your Helen, Dave, I know she collects, doesn't she?
Yeah.
But obviously she collects very different, obviously, stuff to what you collect. But she, by default, she's probably gained the knowledge of the stuff you collect. Just by discussions that you have. Yeah.
She enjoys it as well, so.
Yeah, that's good. It's great. Great when they get involved, in a way.
In a way.
Well, again,
if it's positive,
you know what I mean. I'll just say it as that. So George has a point. I brought you into this world. I could take you out many times. Coming soon, Adam L and Martin's new live stream. Martin shows off his newly purchased box of. Oh yeah, because Martin was saying what got eaten to him for him was Batman '89 cards. It's funny you can remember that. Yeah, to me, I don't know about you, Thee. To me, it's got to be Star Wars, because Star Wars is the most. Because Si always brings up the 12-inch action men, which we do have, and Si sent me some pictures because I was having like. Did we have that? And then I saw the sidecar and the motorbike and the Jeep and the tank and all that we had. I had a T-shirt on that said "Who shot JR?" while I was cut. You know, so and I'm holding that action man that VTR sent me. You know, but do you remember? Si, what it was for you? It must have been Star Wars, Si? Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Two things for me will always be Action Man and 2000 AD going on to DC Comics. DC Comics is my whole source. It's my comic books is my number one. If my house was on fire, it'd be my comic books I'd go to save more than anything. Do you know what I mean? They've been with me since I ever bought them. I've never sold one. I've never moved any on. I buy them and I treasure them, and I look at them like there's nothing better to me still to this day than unsealing brand new comic books. Like a movie to me. Do you know what I mean? It never left me. So that's really is my absolute source. That's where the love of it all comes from. Luckily, I managed to buy figures and collectibles that were from these comic books. I could buy Judge Dredd figures, Batman figures, Catwoman figures. Then Star Wars came out, and then I think that was it for all of us. Do you know what I mean?
Toys influenced your art, Si?
Yeah, massively. Massively. And don't forget, when you're a kid, the good thing about the 80s for me is I could watch Return of the Jedi. And I absolutely love Return of the Jedi. But then with the toy collection I had and the way I love to draw, I could continue that story where I've got Return of the Jedi 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I could continue it on. It never finished with Return of the Jedi for me because my imagination as a kid and the toys I had, having the attack, having all Endor figures, having everything, speeder bikes, the lot. You could continue these stories non-stop. And I think that's the treasure. That's what kept us with it. because we made our own stories. And then if I wasn't doing that, I was at the back table drawing my own stories of Star Wars. So yeah, it definitely did, 100%.
I always found people accepting of it all the way back from the 90s. That's probably because I've never been hid it. Like, I've never been ashamed of doing it and so forth. I think it's what DTM just caught up on a couple of minutes ago. I think I never had anyone to share it with. So I'm talking to people who don't get it. If I phone DTM up and I'm telling him this, he understands what I'm talking about. He gets it. He does the same thing. When I'm talking to a lad at work about it, he's probably like, what?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's why I kept it. Not a secret, if you will. It's just, what's the point in bringing it up? It's just going to go one way.
Part of the beauty of it now is if I pick up a figure, well, depending on what it might be, or a vehicle or whatever, I get it and go, our DTM, I love this. I'll send him a picture, and you know you're going to get our Sile. Let me our Sile loses shit over this, and then you get that response, and people can enjoy it with you, and you can take that bit more pleasure out of it. I think,
that's a good way of looking at it.
I've had a group of friends since I was a kid. We're still friends now. And when we do go out, they know that I've got this other life that they don't really get interested in. So it's all about football and what your teams are doing and all that. But they know that I enjoy what I do, but they just don't talk about it.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I've got this other life, but it's far too sexual to talk about on right side.
But it's great for me though, because I've always lived in Blackpool my entire life. So most of my good friends and stuff that we hang around with, I did when I was at school, at college, through my 20s, through work, and they've always known it's come with me. And I've never made any shyness about it or anything. I've never had anybody question me on what I collect. I've just laughed at them. Like, wow.
Is that because you've got a talent to back that up? Because so you say that, but when you see your artwork, and even I go, what the heavens, look how good that is.
No, really, because like I think it's important to love what you love. If you go out and you have a passion for these things, and these teams think you're going and they keep your mind focused and off dark stuff and all good stuff that all men over the age of 40 go through. Let's be fair. 100%. We struggle like hell. People don't talk about men's health after 40. And if these things help, and if these things keep people talking and keep a society going, what the fuck is wrong with that? Nothing in my eyes. You know what I mean? So
I never thought about it that way, Arcade. Ever. I agree with that. So that's a good call. Don't. Evening all. Sorry for being late tonight. My headphones, all breaking news, boys, breaking news. My headphone microphone suddenly has decided not to work anymore. Thankfully, he has a USB microphone. Oh.
Nice. Battle.
Brilliant. Good old Mark. Nice to see you, buddy. Adam, was you the kid who was supposed to deliver them but never bothered? I don't know what that's about. Love that sag. Straight out of school, I worked at a sports shop and I'm massively into my football. And I wasn't into toys in an early years. Girls, what do you think brought you all back then? Because we've all done this. And we all say this story, girls, you know what I mean, this, that, and so forth. But we never say what actually brought us back. A lot of people do say, hypocritical, really. A lot of people do say it was like the power of the force thing. But I was like, I never really left. It slowed down because obviously you start a family and you do other things and so forth. But there's always stuff I picked up now and then. DTM, what about you?
Well, for me, I didn't come back to it until maybe 25, 26. I got a bit bored of, doing the full weekend in a nightclub and hanging around with lads and stuff like that. And then I started like going round toy shops again, whenever I'm having a bit of time to myself, picking up a little bit here and there. And it just kind of grew from that. And then when I met Helen, she pushed me to, if you like doing that, get it done. So this is what the situation is now.
No, so you're saying it's Helen's fault as well, like it was Rachel with me, it's Helen with you. Right? There's a pattern. There's a pattern emerging.
Luke and DTM's opinions are not mine and Simon's, just in case Rachel and Helen are watching. You know what I mean? Let's get to death of both of them. Mess with any of it. Do you remember, Si? Do you remember when you just thought, you know what, I'm just going to get back into this big time?
I've never left it. So I can't have every girlfriend I've ever had, it's always come with me. Every job I've ever had, it's always come with me. Everything I've ever done. I can't truthfully say there was a time that I didn't, because I've always spotted things that I've always liked. But don't forget, my franchises have been going for nearly 90 years. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like I couldn't find these things because I could.
Another life they don't know about. Dave's Batman.
But that's the point, you know, Batman, things like DC and they never had 20-year gaps or 17-year between films or anything like that, or this big gap where we didn't get much of stuff apart from little fill-ins. You know, they just kept going and going. So, so did I. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's what it was there.
Luke?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, look, I mean, I mean, I know we joke about it, but in the nicest way now, Rachel is really responsible for it, and I don't mean that in a, but you know, that she bought me the lightsaber, which I maintain probably kicked everything off. But I remember we went to there's a little place called Sobe that's just up the road from us. So it's a village, and every year they have a gala, like they have stalls and, you know, like fairground games, and you can go and you can get food and just and you can sort of sit. They have it on this big grassed area, sort of near a cliff top, and you can just sit and enjoy the day. And they had a few stormtroopers walking around, and so we got talking about Star Wars and my old toys. I always maintained a love for my old toys. I used to talk about them a lot, and we just used to sit there and chat about it. Like, I wish I had my old toys. I wish I still had them. And she just said, "Why can't you? You're talking about you can never get these things back." She's like, "Why are you talking like you can't have them? If you want them again, buy them again. Jump on eBay. You'll be able to find them." You know, and sure enough, yeah. Like I said, I'd already got the lightsaber, and I think Chewbacca was the first vintage Star Wars figure I picked up again, because he didn't have his bowcaster. He was mega cheap, like 99p, maybe even something like that. And yeah, it's just like, why are you talking like you can't have them? If you want,
we do though, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And that might have been because then I'd been in my 30s, and there's just this perception of, well, of course I can't have them in my 30s, can't have them again. Why can't you? You know?
I think that's why we stayed so close, us lot, in it, really, because it's been over half a decade now. Do you know what I mean? And we talk to. I mean, sometimes we'll go a couple of weeks or months or whatever, but we're always close to each other. And I think that's what it is. It's funny because Gilsa says here, "This is my therapy," and every one of you are my doctors. Yeah. So I always look at it that way. You know,
it's so true. I mean, I'm very lucky in the sense that I don't want to get too heavy, you know, with topic wise, but I don't think anybody has perfect mental health. I don't think anyone really knows what perfect mental health is, and I think
I do. I'm perfect.
Well, I just think to a point we all struggle with certain aspects of adult life, and the way I sort of look at my collection, as much as I just love it because it's my childhood, it's the toys I had, and you know, I love it for that reason. But I see it as balance. It balances me. I feel it evens me up. If I've had a really bad day, I could come up here for 10 minutes, tinker with a few toys, tinker with a few shells, mess around with a figure, and walk out of here completely at peace. And that's one of the reasons why I love it. You know, I just see it as complete balance. And yeah, it puts me at peace completely. 20 minutes in here, and I'm good. You know, I'm good. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love it. You know, some people go running, some people work out, some people collect handbags, some people collect shoes, whatever it might be. But if it works for you and it calms you down inside, And I think when people, I mean, look, people poke fun, of course they do, but I think when you say it like that, all of a sudden people take you a little bit more seriously. And a lot of the time when I've discussed it with people, they finish the conversation usually by going, "Oh yeah, I never really thought about it like that. I'd love to. I wish I had something in my life I could be that passionate about, and that has that effect on me, but I don't."
Yeah,
you know. And all of a sudden they take you seriously because they understand it a bit more, rather than just, I'm not a kid collecting toys. Yes, I am collecting toys, but part of the reason behind it is because it gives you that sense of calm, you know.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a time where I had no bills to pay, no mortgages to pay, no responsibilities, you know, no stresses and strain of adult life, relationships, family, all that. The biggest decision I had to make that day was what flavour bubblegum I wanted on the way to school, you know.
Yeah.
But you just said it there, Luke. I mean, I believe that the part-time psychiatrist rooms, and you've just said it yourself. Then subconsciously, you went, "I come in this room, and within 20 minutes, I feel great again."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's maybe the little things like that. It's just little. I mean, we're obviously passionate about these things, and maybe with us going out and buying again and again, it just fills a void that was always like been missing, that needs filling. Do you know what I mean? Maybe we need this to focus on and keep your eye on, and something to look out for. And I love, like you said, that we had when time was innocent, when there was nothing like what we live through today. Do you know?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I do agree. He says, and Kieran says, I actually found myself needing therapy after watching Tub Thumpers and Size Question of the Week. So yeah, everyone's asking if VTR's feeling better. I hope he is. I hope he's all right.
Yeah,
so Keith Knight says everyone has mental health, but not all of us have good mental health. My collecting addiction is therapy for sure. And I think that's why people go around it. There's two completely different points that you just made, our Keith, and our Luke's just made. But it all makes, like what Si just said, it all makes sense. I think we all collect, because we love the passion for toys, and either it being going back to what this is about, vintage or modern, just makes you happy, doesn't it? It's just like, it gives you, it's like me doing my room for the last 2 days.
That's it. Yeah.
You enjoy it, don't you, our DTM?
When you see what you've done, you feel good, don't you? You feel,
and it makes you feel good, because it's funny that too, and I think that's why my wife and my kids have no issue when they buy me stuff like expensive stuff for Christmas, because they know I'm going to keep it forever.
Yeah,
it's not a waste of money. Do you know what I mean?
How happy it's going to make you.
Exactly.
They know how happy it's going to make you. I think it's a big thing, and we joke about it at times, but there's a serious side to it. I think there's this reason why we do it.
But I think it's the same way, because John says he was in a mental hospital twice in his life for weeks at a time. He was far from okay for a while, anxiety, PTSD, depression. But then John goes to Joe Fest, and DTM will contest this, because DTM met up with him last year, and he had the time of his life for 3 or 4 days. And that's what us lot have built. I think we've become, it's not just now watching VTR's video or a Reynolds review, it's watching our Luke's video, watching our Dave's video.
That's what, Mark, that's what makes me laugh sometimes, because this collecting, for some people, is a bit laughed at. Other men do look at our ways and go, what are they doing collecting toys and stuff, and they don't get it. But the way I see it is that 6 years ago there was basically just me and a couple of others, and within 6 years I've met so many new friends that are so like-minded that we all meet up with and have great weekends away, great chats, talk all through the week. How can this be a bad thing that's come out of it? How can it be scorned on or laughed at or anything?
Well, that's why I always laugh when people fall out or people argue and people over toys and pop culture, because I always think, well, where else would you be?
That's opinion, and debates will always get heated, above everything. People have their different opinions on stuff, and it can get a bit out of hand, can't it? But my point is, for something that's quite degradable with others, it's funny how so much of the social lifestyle comes out of it. Do you know what I mean? If you're willing to go along. Yeah.
Donald says, that's why I've done my YouTube retro channel. It gives me a break from the real world, which sometimes makes me feel pretty low. Doing retro videos and watching talented creators, yes, especially Shabby. Oh, no, it doesn't say that. It says, yes, you all. Chills me out. But you're exactly right. I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's like it's like when it's like when DTM and Hella made that American video. You look forward to watching it. Oh, I'm going to watch this. Because it's hard, it's the lovely Helen and DTM on it. Or when you lot go to NEC or Sandown, and I know I'm not going to it, I look forward to watching those videos, because there's the lads.
I was same with your Fest videos this year. I just see them all. Knocked them all out in one day.
I do agree with Luke, though. Watching these videos and watching what people pick up and see has been a massive boost to basically my collection. Because even though, yes, I did collect and I did all this and that, I can truthfully say not half of what I've done for these past 5 years. Nowhere near. I pick up a Batman figure now and again, and I pick up something like a Batmobile or a statue or something anime. And Monsieur Bond figures I've collected since I was 18. And even though I'm 49, I've still got 4 more to collect, so that's something I've done for years.
Yeah.
But where does it end? What's going? Is my stuff going to be worth this vintage stuff? I sit here at 50 and I go, oh, it's going to be worth a fortune. This when I get rid of it all. What when I'm 70? What am I going to do with a load of money at 70? Apart from going to cruise or something like. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm going to buy a Ferrari or anything, is it?
No, you would not.
We still think like that.
If I had all that money at 70, I'm going out in style. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'll be dead by 70 and a half, but it'd be worth it. Do you know what I mean? That's
because Claire will say to me, do you buy stuff to sell it on? And I go, no. And she goes, you must do. And I go, well, I don't. She goes, well, why do you not open anything? And I said, well, what do you mean? She goes, well, you open nothing. So you buy it, you don't open it, but you're not going to sell it later on.
Because you want to own it. I'm buying trainers and not wearing them.
It's weird that we don't.
See how professional we all are. The segue works perfect. Doesn't it?
Are we collectors, or are we safety look after us for the next 30 years? Do you know, are we that people? Do you know what I mean? It's so strange sometimes.
Tony's here, Richard bringing up getting part. There's nothing like it, is there? There's nothing like it.
Yeah, when you
it was such chill. You get that parcel at your door, or you know it's coming, and you're like, or you've won some on eBay, that kind of thing.
Here's a question for you though, lads. Just to maybe just sort of move topics slightly. We've all got quite diverse collections. Is there a toy line or a toy that, for love nor money, if somebody paid you, you wouldn't have? A toy line that you could pay me to collect that toy line, I won't collect it. I just does nothing for you. You can't stand it for whatever reason. Is there a toy line you would never have, for whatever reason?
That's a tough in that, Luke. That's dead tough, especially for us, because we collect
everything. I'm going to say there is one for me, and I don't mean to be disrespectful whatsoever in any shape or form. But for me, look, it was Sectars. I never liked them as a kid. I never got into them as a kid. I never liked the cartoon, and even now when they all started, I was like, how were they taken off when it wasn't popular when we were younger? Or was it?
If anyone don't be offended, I'm like that. You.
Just Sectars, maybe I've never liked music. I didn't like that Hive thing they did. It was just one of them. I was like,
the idea of that question, you weren't meant to pick something I love. All right,
sorry. No, for that, I just had no affection to them. One of lines I just never took to me as a kid. I never really liked, and
I don't like that man. Sorry.
I don't like people drawing. They're arseholes.
Dave, have you got one, Dave?
It's a weird one. You're going to laugh. You're going to all laugh at this. G.I. Joe.
Right? Really?
Yeah.
Choose your next words carefully, Dave.
Turn the chat off now.
It's something I could never get into when I was younger. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there is some good stuff, but it's too far extensive to be even start.
You get overwhelmed, don't you, Dave?
Yeah.
Because me and you were saying that, weren't we, last year? Like, where do you start with this lot? Do you know what I mean?
I went last year with the I'll pick up one, but I didn't know where to begin. So I think for me, G.I. Joe, because of that reason, really.
Yeah.
And
Shabby.
God, he's hard.
And what?
I can't think of one. I'm going to be brutally honest. I can't think of one. I appreciate every. I mean,
get off the fence, mate. Come on.
Let me think.
It's an hard question.
Double hard question, because I'm trying to think of everything I've loved of everything. Voltron. I've never had anything Voltron. I've got one of the figures, but I've never. No, it's not really. But for the reason, exactly the same as what our DTMs just said. I don't know much about it, and the lore's far too gone now for me to go, and do you know what I mean? Get into that and so forth. Richie says here, don't judge me for my latest obsession. Pop Mart Labubus. I have a few now.
Oh, the Labubus. Are they them little ones, like the little... There's things that you clip on. They're like the soft toys, aren't they? The little... Are they them?
Yeah.
What's yours, Luke, then? If you had to get rid of one.
Yeah, well, no, if a line I won't touch. I just no. It was one that's probably traumatized me when I was growing up, tiny kid, but maybe teens or so. I can't stick Power Rangers.
Power Rangers.
Why do you hate Power Rangers?
No, they can't. The show used to wind me right up. How ridiculously exaggerated it was, and just just sod off.
Brilliant.
Sod off.
Sod off.
Everything was sparks every time we struck somebody, sod off. Yeah. Power Rangers.
Would you put toys down as being a comfort, like our cat says here? Toys are a comfort. They were our friends as children, and he gave us a sense of peace.
100%.
Many of us service users are middle-aged but still have cuddly toys from childhood that suggest it's an instinct. What? She's how classy is that lady? She's so classy. What a great way to put it.
Cat herself, Mark, when Cat was on the Tub Thumpers, she didn't show one thing without a smile on her face. Not one.
she didn't,
and that's what I love about this sort of thing. It does put you in that nice place, doesn't it? Where you look and think, oh, you love that. And, you know, you go back to things that you bought even 6 months ago and you're like, it's mint, isn't it?
Me and Luke talk about this. I love Possible. You look around your toy rooms. All of us can do it here, and there's stuff off everybody. Everybody, you know what I mean?
Today off Keith Knight just come through the door. Keith Knight said something. Yeah,
it's a lovely point. That Hiya, John. DTM, did you have a question? I can't believe we've done an hour and 45 minutes already. It's flown.
All the questions I had, I don't think I understood the brief because they're all very 80s inspired questions.
Perfect.
One of them's from Helen. Helen wanted me to ask this.
Do it.
What is your favourite advert from the 80s?
That's a great question.
So many in it. I think one of them was, you know, the kid that's looking through the book and he wants that racer, that bike, and his dad goes, but better luck next year, lad. And then he gets up that morning. Do you know what? I watched that last year and nearly cried. I was so I was like, really choked me watching it. And it was so weird because I used to love that advert. And then he goes, I was right about that seat. You know, when the seat's like dead like razor like. I love that advert.
Great. That's a great advert.
I like the advert where he's dancing with his Sunday roast. I'm in the mood for love. Do you remember when he danced with his Sunday roast everywhere? He's in the park holding his Sunday roast because you're near me. I loved that advert. And the other one I liked the rabbit from the Cadbury's Caramel with the pink thing on. She was cool. The Turkish Delight advert, I remember that with the eyes, with the sand turning into eyes.
Yeah, the sand,
But my favourite one was, oh, you have it. My name, yes, it's Jay.
Hartley. Yeah.
Well, mine was the McCain Chips one. Where
You know what? I guess I'm copping out because I can't really think of maybe a commercial in the 80s that I really. I mean, there will be some. So I guess I'm just going to cop out with what my favourite commercial is of like all time.
Yeah,
and there is a connection in it to Star Wars, so I don't know if I'll get away with it. But my favourite commercial, and it's relatively recent, but I think it's amazing. Can anyone remember the commercial for Volkswagen? I think it was a Volkswagen Passat, and there's a kid walking around in a Darth Vader outfit.
And his dad presses
trying to do the Force and everything, and he's getting dead upset. Nothing's working. He does it on his dad's car. He does the thing through the window, and it's the fact that even though he's got the Darth Vader mask on. When he spins to look at his mum, you can imagine what face he's pulling underneath it. Like, I've done it.
That's a great advert,
I think that's an amazing advert. That when he's trying to do the Force on the dog, you know.
Toy Ploy says, "Never say never. There are toys I have no interest in currently, but things. So you never know, Luke. Next year you might be doing a Power Rangers video, Luke.
Well, I mean that won't happen. But I was about to say that is true though, because 2 years ago I had no interest in buying Sectors, and then I got one, and I was like, that's brilliant. It won't happen with Power Rangers, though.
Anything ET related wouldn't get my vote. Lincoln Logs. It's funny that because I'd never heard. Right, I'll tell you because I was the same way. So Gils has made a good point here. My Jenny loved Lincoln Logs as a kid. It's like a big bucket tub full of old wooden pieces, and you make buildings. It's a bit like Lego, but it's not attached. You put them all together. Do you know what I mean? So it's like building blocks, if you will. But Lincoln Logs was for some of them, but Gils don't like them. But now he says anything horrible. I know that I'm the same way, mate.
Yeah. I buy a lot of horror stuff.
You do, don't you, Si? Yeah, you do. Yeah, but I'm the same way for that. Yeah. I started collecting for memories. It fills my inner child. Yeah. But it's evolved now. It's also creating things like diorama. Yeah, when we saw him on Tub Thumpers, I saw the dioramas that Delview had made to put all his stuff in. It looked awesome.
Yeah. Some people surprise you, don't they?
Our Dave says Thundercats, for some reason, does nothing for me.
Right.
Thundercats, yeah.
But Dave has got some Thundercats, though, right? I'm sure Dave's got Thundercats in his collection, though, hasn't he? Dave, tell us, you've got Thundercats, right?
That's Dave.
Sure you have. But they do not. I'm sure he has.
Everyone on sub from DTM. And I'm just putting who's going to get the San Diego Comic Con Anakin? Oh, I'd love it.
Even I like that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Right, a good price. Yeah.
Dave, why do you hate SAGs, G-Force, Connor, all these? Why do you hate them?
It's just,
hate me.
It's too out there now. I can't do it now.
Sky Commanders. Yeah.
I never got into. I can't really remember.
I remember them. No. They worked for me.
Sky Commanders.
So John's would have been Sky Commanders. Wow. Not into our toys. I know, Tony. I'm the same way.
Yeah,
so
Dave said he's not got a single Thundercat in his collection.
Kieran says Star Wars. I bought the first 6 figures back in the day, then stopped. Can't explain it. But even though I love the Star Wars movies, the toys never grabbed me. Grabbed me big time. I think that's just where it all comes from, like I said. Toy Ploy says, having said that, pop vinyl is not for me. All those weird dogs. Those weird dogs.
No,
they're not for me either. But I've got a few. People generally buy them as gifts, but they do get me good ones. But they're not for me generally.
I love it. Hundreds in this house.
Labubu's are hot right now. Labubu's. I don't like Supernaturals.
Talking about.
You like Supernaturals, don't you? But Simon, do we ever
Supernaturals?
Yeah, we did.
But
we had a couple of Supernaturals, but I think in our house with the hologram set, we were more for Visionaries because I remember us having everything Visionaries. We had a lot. Yeah, and we all did. We all loved them like shields and stuff. You know, with all the big staff with the hologram at the top and on the chest.
Super cool, super cool.
And what was that ship called? It was like a dark purple, dark blue, like a big pizza ship that they had. We could put them all on the top, the Visionaries, and I used to love that ship as well when we were kids. We did have a lot of big ones.
I have a controversial one, says Adam. Masters of the Universe. I'll just carry on. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, that's it. You take to what you take to, don't you? And that's it.
Yeah. That Pink Ranger, though, Luke.
I'll give you that, Matt. Yeah. She'd get a buy.
I agree. Power Rangers suck. Again, Keith and Luke's opinions do not match my detail and size. No articulation.
I will say I do collect the Pink Ranger. I do collect Pink Ranger stuff because when we went through COVID, I was buying a lot from Star Action Figures and places like that. I can't remember which one it was, but because I was buying a bit because we were all stuck in, every time that I put some like 2 together over a certain day to send a lot as one, and instead of giving my postage back, they put like a Blu-ray in or a figure. And 3 times they put a different Pink Ranger figure in. So first I was like, what am I going to do with that? Well, then after 3, I thought, I'm going to start collecting Pink Ranger stuff. So I ended up with helmets. I've got My Little Pony Pink Ranger. I've got 12-inch Pink Rangers. I've just got loads of stuff.
And they all take the piss out of me, lads. They all take the piss out of me.
Pink Ranger, yeah. So it's funny how, like what Tony just said then, it's how you could be born just like you don't even think you're going to start collecting something, and then all of a sudden you do. And this is like I have no interest in the Power Rangers and all that, and I didn't start collecting these till 4 or 5 years ago. But now I've got a great collection of Pink Ranger stuff.
I was in a charity shop a few weeks back, and I'd seen one in there. It was like 50p. Sounds right. So now I've Power Ranger.
I've got Connor running around Dublin looking for this certain Pink Ranger figure I was after, and I couldn't find, and I saw one in Connor's Dublin shop. Get me that Pink Ranger figure. And he's like, what?
Have I missed Helen? I can't see Helen's thing anywhere. Because someone's just wrote, great question, Helen, but I can't see it. Look, great question.
I think it's one Dave's just said. I think it's one question Dave just asked for Helen.
Right, the red and blue car had a race. Milky
Way, that was a good advert. Yeah,
Action Man adverts. Although one of my favourites were going toy-wise was always the speeder bike through the dining room chairs. Oh,
yeah,
you remember
that was great.
The way they did it was brilliant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That hit hard for kids, didn't it? Because obviously we're nowhere near California, so the closest thing you've got is your table and chairs when you were a kid. So yeah,
but it worked though, didn't it? That advert, it really did work. It was like Endor, all the chair legs.
Was it Keep On Collecting that recreated the Falcon commercial? Was it the Keep On Collecting lads that I'm sure they recreated the Falcon commercial, didn't they?
Yeah.
Sure they have. I'm sure,
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. Yeah, brilliant. They've done a great job of it as well.
Charlie says. The Marvel G.I. Joe comic adverts of TV, they were amazing. Oh, right, I'm a secret living agent.
That's a good one. Yeah.
They just don't do like that anymore, do they? For MASH gets round.
That was there was the alien robot things, was it?
All I can remember is Wendy's. We didn't have Wendy's when you've got Wendy's now, though, haven't you? You've got one signed Blackpool, haven't you?
Me and Dave will be visiting Wendy's next Friday. We'll tell you what it's all about.
Yeah, there is a couple near me now. Yeah.
He says, "Do the Saturday morning cartoon shorts count as adverts?" I suppose they will do a little bit, especially over here. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. The J.R. Hart.
Yeah, because I used to love that Transformers intro between. Remember, it used to be called Transformers Will Return. Da, 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 and there was that little man. That's a good advert for me in a sense of
That's actually got me into another question. Actually, that this is Rachel's question.
How is it you always blaming your Rachel for these?
No, this is because I sat with her tonight and I was like, I've got to think of some questions, love. I can't think of any. I'm crap. Right, so she said you have to ask the lads this. It's like a twofold question. People in the chat, please join in with this one as well because it's a good question. So I want you to imagine. So you're back in the 80s, guys, and you're in your front room. You sat on the floor, or you laid on the floor, and you're waiting for your whatever cartoon's coming on. So you sort of imagine you've shut your eyes. Okay, so I don't want it to be your favourite cartoon necessarily. Right. If they marry up, fine. But I'm not asking you what your favourite cartoon is. So you're on the floor. You've got your bowl of cereal in front of you. You shut your eyes. What theme tune are you hearing? Not necessarily your favourite cartoon, but what theme tune do you hear? You're sort of there waiting. What's the first theme tune you think comes into your mind?
City of Gold.
Ooh, yeah, that's
Children
a good one.
of the sun.
Yeah.
This is your do you remember your kids like, I loved it, City of Gold.
For me, it's just happened straight away, and it will always be Dungeons and Dragons.
Always. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. DTM.
I think Casualty. No. Probably He-Man.
Yeah. He-Man. That's a good one.
Even my little boy does that one now. By the power of even he does it at 12. Do you know what I mean? That's brilliant. We've just been informed not a single Thundercat in his collection.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that.
Hi, Nick.
I'm surprised by that. So I mean, obviously my favourite cartoon was Mask, but if I sort of imagine myself there, I hear Transformers.
I know, but the way you do your videos when you used to look at you watching the Mask, they were awesome. I loved them.
I'll have to do that again, but I haven't done a Mask video for a while because I'm kind of satisfied with where my Mask collection is, so I'm not picking up loads of Mask stuff at the moment. But when I get the new ones, then we'll have to bring that back. But yeah, I was always Transformers. But then I had to ask a follow-up question. What cereal have you got?
Shreddies.
Shreddies.
No thinking. Even now, I still love Shreddies. Well, I never eat Shreddies at breakfast time ever. I always eat like late at night.
I know your phone sat at 9 o'clock, so it's 2 o'clock over there, and he sat there, bowl of Shreddies. Like,
that's what I have.
Hasn't changed.
I get to the station and eat my Shreddies.
You go frosted Shreddies. Side, you got frosted Shreddies.
No, they've got to be the original bad boys. I like to put my own sugar on. The milk on, the vape station on, Shreddies.
Cocoa Pops. Yeah.
That's a good shout.
I've always enjoyed it. Cocoa Pop.
Yeah, Cocoa. I was always a Frosties guy.
Frosty.
Tony the Tiger.
I'm out of packet with no milk. Keep eating.
Yeah.
Can I have two? When I was a kid, it was always Sugar Puffs or Golden Puffs. They're called over here. Loved them. Yeah. The only problem with them, though, this is probably why I'm so fat, is because you can't have one bowl of Sugar Puffs, can you?
No, good. I can't have one bowl of Shreddies.
No, but the other one I love as an adult is the mini frosted shredded wheats, the mini ones. Oh, God,
right.
Them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, really nice. Yeah.
Oh, Keith,
Power Rangers rocked. So you're all wrong, apparently. Power Rangers rocked.
They did not.
Do you mind if I have a question before?
Sure.
First of all, I've absolutely loved this. What a great idea, Si. I've got to give you credit for this, man. This has been brilliant. I can't believe 2 hours has gone, and we've had 45 to 50 all night. So thank you all so much. I always make sure I thank you all because, like I said, without our chat, without the support, we wouldn't be doing it, would we? So I really appreciate it. What is the thing that you've been influenced on a YouTube channel, or anybody you've watched, that you've thought, oh, I'll get one of them, but you've ended up buying a sugar load of them?
Yep.
Oh, for me, when DTM stopped making his top 10, when DTM started doing his top 10 Christmas videos, because he used to do his figures of the year, and I'd always see at least 2 or 3 of them that I'd have to buy, then have to get the rest of them. So I'm glad he doesn't do that anymore.
I'll bring it back this Christmas just for you, Si.
Yeah.
Mine's Shabby with his Motu.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I picked up one, then another one, and another one.
Yeah, I mean, I've got two. And I don't know if it's a boatload, but certainly more than I would. So my first one is down to our VTR Dave and Rambo, Coleco Rambo. I just thought, I'll just get the Rambos. I'll just get the two Rambos.
That's a great line, that vintage Rambo line.
And I'm far down the road now with that, and I don't have any intention of stopping at this point. So yeah, that was VTR Dave. I thought I'll get two Rambos, and that'll do. I'm about 12 figures in now, and I plan to get more if I can. The other one's bloody Playmobil. You, Shabby. It's just as soon as I saw any of them 80s sets, I was like, I'm in there. So I mean, I've currently got the Knight Rider set, Back to the Future, Magnum, A-Team, and I need some add-ons from Back to the Future one yet as well. So I plan to get them, but. Yeah, I haven't got the hoverboard yet. You know, the little set where you can get the hoverboard and Mr. Fusion and stuff like that. I need to get them for add-ons.
I've got them all for the Playmobil Back to the Future. I got it all. I loved it.
Yeah,
I bought it all as soon as possible. What's mine, I suppose? Let me think. Probably Brave Star from you. When I was watching you, the way you did it.
Yeah.
And our side found me the Fort Curry. I mean, I bought a couple at Joe Fest, and then Scuba got me a couple of them as well. I was, because I loved Brave Star as a kid. I really did, but it was a novelty thing. I think it was the latter end one at 87, 88, so I'm turning 13, 14 and so forth. But it was watching your video on that, and I thought, oh man, I love
they're so good. But
loved them.
Considering I love them, obviously you've just said you love them, Shabby. I don't know, Si and DTM, what you feel about them.
Yeah, I love Brave Star.
But that, again, I mean, obviously I know we're about done now, but that was one question I've got down. Is there a toy in your toy collection or a toy line in your toy collection that your partner hates and thinks is ridiculous? Because Rachel hates Brave Star. She walks in here and she goes, "Will you get rid of that stupid Space Cowboy toy line?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" It's like that toy line where they've both got silly hats on and them two that look like they're in wheelchairs. Like, what?
Wheelchairs.
I buy a lot of anime characters, and some of them are quite like, anime characters. You know what they're like. And I've got a lot of statues and figures over the years. And Claire's never said anything, but she's never said anything. If you know what I mean.
That's probably why.
And I'll be saying the next couple of companies. I'm thinking of buying this. Listen, no matter, this story's going to come out eventually.
Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure?
It's a 5'4" action figure with a silicone body.
It's a sex
Shabby
doll.
Geek seems to think it's a sex doll. I'm like, so.
You're an idiot. You're an idiot.
When I buy this, how do I tell Claire it's just in my collection room?
He's going on to me. He's going on to me about this figure, right? He's 5 foot and all that sort of stuff. So I looked it up. While he was talking. It's on an adult page selling. Right. All right. Well, I tell you. DTM, right? I couldn't believe it, and he's trying to convince me, and I'm like, "Are you having a laugh? Are you having a laugh?" And he goes, "Well, if you definitely make Chun-Li, I'm definitely buying it." And he said, "Maybe we should do a live stream trying to debate it." I said, "Si, you're not going to convince anybody."
No, because like my point of view with that is like this, right? I've seen it on a show called the Figure Zone. I don't know if you watch the Figure Zone online. It's all about Japanese figures and new figures that come out, and they showed these and they called them an action figure. And they showed Milani Kite from King of Fighters. And I thought, I would love one of them. A 5'4" anime figure.
Oh, right. You literally love it, would you?
So I buy one and I put it in my toy room. It'd be sat in a chair. But from then on, how do I convince people I don't shag it? How?
I think
because I wouldn't in my head, I wouldn't even dream of that. But then people would go, "He fucking well shags like." He wouldn't he? If they couldn't like. So my point is, how do I get round that? Well, how do I get round it? And especially with Claire, how do I get round it? Like I've just brought this.
So everybody, jump in the chat if you've got an answer to this.
Any tips? Let me know.
You're an idiot. Absolute idiot. Absolutely. So he's telling me about this thing, and I said, "Who makes it?" So he tells me the company that makes it, Luke. I'm telling you read and the actual thing for your pleasure and this and that, and I'm like, have you read this? And he goes, no, I haven't read it. And I'm like, read it, read this, and tell me this.
I've just thought they were super cool. I'm well buying one.
Cocoa Pops for real toys, Simon. I don't believe it. You've got balls of steel, Simon. He was telling me about it this morning.
I've got a career on YouTube, you know. Oh my God.
He was telling me about it this morning. I might bring it up. I said, Si, do you know who watches you, Si? They're going to take you to the cleaners, Si.
Oh, my head's hurting.
He goes, don't worry, Shabby, I'm thick-skinned. I'm thick-skinned. You have to live in a fort, the attacks you're going to get.
No, that's just all I need. I just need some advice on like how to convince people I don't. That's the only thing I'm bothered about, because I am going to buy one.
I am going to buy one.
Box, so I think
sleep in the box. That's pretty
big. You don't open anything, Si. I think you're good.
Yeah, no, you're not really though, because you got why is this box all stained and sticky? What's all over this box?
Well, that's the whole point, you see, because it wouldn't be, would it?
There'll be a whole other thing there, right? That's just what I'm all doing, so you can test it. Just,
I don't know, but see, that's the thing. I'd have to keep mine dressed and stuff.
All right. Well, let's take you out of the equation right now. So DTM's coming back to the States next year, yeah. And I say, DTM, come in a minute. So he comes into toy room, and I go, oh yeah, there's my Masters of the Universe DTM. There's my Transformer. Oh, and he looks, and there's a 5-foot doll right in the corner sat down. DTM's not going to go. Oh yeah, Shabby. Everyone's got one of them.
That's a good question. That's a good question. So if you three was to walk into my collection room and see that, would you think in your head, he shags that?
Yeah, I definitely would.
That's just one of his collection dolls.
I'd probably ask what its name is, and then
I mean, you'd have to go home thinking of me with that doll. When I don't.
Sugar Puffs make your pee smell, apparently. So a lot of people like Sugar Puffs. Shreddies is up there. And Tony Z says Shreddies with the Superman transfers. Remember them? Superman transfers?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Crunch. Ready Break. Oh, Ready Break.
Did they still do that in cereal? Because I still buy cereal, but there doesn't seem to be any gifts in them anymore, or stickies or anything.
They don't do it now, do they? They don't put gifts in them anymore, no.
You don't do it?
No.
It's always get stuff, didn't we?
In Frosties, you used to get reflectors for your bike in Frosties, didn't you?
Yeah. Used to get some top stuff in our cereals, didn't we, and stuff?
Little Rice Krispie men. You got them as well.
Yeah. Ready Break. Never got that warm orange glow, like you bastards. Do you know what I mean? Frosties, like Frosty. Yeah, exactly the same thing. Tony the Tiger as well, Matt. Yeah, it's the same thing. There, Tony the Tiger too. Good point, Adam. The toy in the box was a huge part of picking out what cereal to buy. Let's have a look. I still have Cocoa Pops now and again these days. Instantly takes me back and no thing in the toy box, which annoys me. Michael Morris says Fraggle Rock and
Terrahawks. Yeah. Fraggle Rock's a good one, yeah.
Give him that.
Yeah.
Ulysses, that was a great song.
Ulysses 31 or 33 or something.
Yeah.
31.
Cocoa Pebbles. Brilliant show, guys. Well, thanks, mate. But you did write this before Si's confession. So maybe maybe Richie's gone. It was good. About 2 hours, 1 minute, and then it just went completely downhill.
Isn't it nice, Dave, that I share a wound with him and he's not even convinced that I don't fiddle with my doll?
You sure did, buddy. Good old G-Force. Yeah, you lucky you didn't give it our Dave G-Force, but yeah, you've thrown it back at you, like, you're not having that. VTR made me buy Battle Beasts at Sandown. 20 of them. Why? Can I ask you a question? Are you all right for a couple of minutes, or do you need to rush off? Because all right, I don't want to hold you back because I know it's late in England. Why do you think Battle Beasts has taken off? Like $30 a figure over here.
It's massive now.
Really?
Why is that though? I wonder. How much were they, Dave? They weren't expensive when we were kids, were they?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember having Battle Beasts as a kid. I mean, I don't have any now, and I don't see it's allowing me getting into. But yeah, they are, and they're only tiny, aren't they?
Yeah.
But,
I mean, just they're like molds as well, aren't they? They don't move anything.
Yeah,
no, the arms move, I think.
Do they?
The arms, yeah, and they come with an accessory.
And
but the Hero Source Toys around the corner outside must have got a collection of them in. And I took a picture and sent it to Berry because I was like, $30 a figure. And
the value must come with a sticker if they've got the rub sticker still on.
Yeah,
I bet a lot of them lose the sticker, do they? Because what was it? Was it like firewood, water, something else? Was it?
Sure, the elements with it. I don't really. I remember them, but I don't know.
Firewood, water, and something else. I think there was. Yeah.
Tune in on Friday's ESR 200 episode. It might be because Scuba Pete's coming, and if he's coming through the day, I'll have to talk to. It might be the week after, so it might be the week after. Watching these channels have reminded me of my love of cheese and onion crisps and other British snacks. Plum cocktail, I miss. They don't do plum cocktail over here. And then Tim Boss Bounty sent me tomato sauce and sausage roll flavoured crisps. That was about 4 years ago. I still haven't got the taste out.
Sausage roll flavoured crisps.
Orchestra sausage roll flavours, and Boss was doing, and Boss sent me a couple of packs of them, and they were double nice. Yeah. Just stuck with Star Wars. Can't afford to get into any other rabbit holes, although I want to get new masks because of Luke's vids announced. They are, so that's where the inspiration. Nice one, Tony. Yeah, so Travels with Jason. Birthday Boy himself says, me was masked because of Luke, Monkey Boy, and Dean kept showing them off 8% of the line, and I realised I had no joy in them. So I sold 70% off. I've said this to you before, Luke, so I'm not going to harp on about it. One of the things is when you and Monkey Boy were doing your stuff, I was like, holy, I didn't know they had that one, and I didn't know they did.
Yeah, I was like that, Mark. Yeah. I was exactly the same. I was surprised how much stuff with masks I've never seen before from watching that. Do you know, like, never do.
We had that conversation, Shabby, didn't we? If you remember, we were talking about potential re-releases of Mask and what have you, and we were saying how, in our mind, Mask was actually went on for quite a long time. But when you think about there was 4 waves from 85 to 88.
Yeah.
But after wave 1 and 2, nobody remembers what the 3 and 4 vehicles were.
No. Because I must have walked past how many times not thinking that was Mask, Luke. Because you know what I mean?
And so you think to yourself, Mask was then only really prominent for 2 years on the toy shelves. After that, nobody remembers. I mean, I've said to you before, if I was to say, I don't know, Iguana, would you know what that one is?
No.
Right.
No. Is it the race car?
Buzzard. No. Would you know what that one is? This is what I mean. Razorback.
Yeah, it was Razorback the one that all like sort of exploded. It was the infrared one.
No, that's Laser Command.
Laser Command, so don't know.
This is what I mean, because everyone lost interest after series 1 and 2 once they started racing each other in the cartoon instead of fighting. So you think to yourself, really, Mask was only prominent for 2 years.
Yeah,
in your mind, they went on for ages. In your mind, they went on for ages, but nobody remembers. I mean, when I first started collecting it again, even I was like that. What the hell's that? What's I don't know. Let me think of a real obscure. What's Detonator? I don't know what Detonator. That was a Beetle. What the hell's that? Where's that come from? You know.
Yeah.
Luke, being an avid collector of masks though and loving it all your life and being a kid and getting all that vintage stuff in. What were your thoughts then when these loyal subject masks were going to be put in production and around? What was you thinking?
Well, my first thought was who were loyal subjects for a start. I didn't have a clue they were. I'd never heard of them until this point. But for ages, I mean, if you go back on my channel, I did a video maybe 3 years ago, probably even more, that I'd just started Mask again, or maybe four, it might have even been 5 in lockdown. And even then I said, everything's been re-released. Everything's been reissued. I think it was maybe 2020. I was like, where's Mask? And I said that then.
I remember you saying this.
Where is it?
Echo.
Yeah. It's the only one, or in my mind, the only major toy line that is left to be reissued.
Yeah.
So I was really, the second, you sort of think, well, it's got 40th anniversary in 2025. Is it going to come then? Obviously it has. But I got not a lot, maybe that's maybe an exaggeration, but when any discussions happen online, straight away I was like, I want to just straight up reissue. I want to buy a Thunderhawk, a Switchblade, brand spanking new, shiny new in a brand new box, straight up reissue, like Star Wars Retro Collection. I don't mind the odd slight update, but I don't want them to be completely revamped.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the majority of people wanted an overhaul. They wanted them, but they wanted a proper, loads of updates and stuff. I know Adam wanted them to be updated, very much like Star Wars and the Vintage Collection. Same figures, but massively updated. I didn't. So when I found out that they were going to be pretty much straight up reissues, I was really pleased about that.
Yeah, because you were going back and forth with it, weren't you? Were you going to do it? Were you not going to do it? And so
I'd held off starting a Mask collection at all because in my mind I thought, well, do I want to start if they're going to reissue it? I'll just get reissues. A bit like what you were saying earlier, Si. But then once I got deep into the vintage toys, when I then found out that the reissue was going to happen, I then did sort of stop and go, right, I'm not going to buy these because I've got them all. Well, I haven't got them all. You know, plenty I still need to get. But the chances are the ones they're going to release, I will have, because they're bound to be series 1 and 2. You know.
Yeah.
So and VTR Dave straight away was like, why bother buying something you've already got? You know. But I just knew once they were released, if they were what I hoped, which they are, there's no way I can resist them.
No, they'll be good watching your videos on them as well. Do you know what I mean? Because you can compare them. I remember only one making a video of the Galaxy's Edge Falcon and the Legacy one, and it was a great video comparing it. So you can do that, compare notes.
And then when I went on and saw the prices, I was like, why wouldn't I get a Condor for 20 quid? Why wouldn't I get a Thunderhawk for 35 quid? There's why wouldn't you? You know? So I'm really.
Have you stuck to it? You know, going off the old figures that you've got, do you look at this new line and say, yeah, it's everything I want, everything?
Well, the new figures are quite more, quite more updated. Obviously, they've got more articulation. The face sculpts are different. They come with both masks, which is nice. You know, you get a long mask and a short mask with them. And on the long mask, you get a little plug-in for the mask ability. So, for example, Bruce Sato, when he uses Lifter, you can get a little plug-in to plug into so it looks like he's using it. And just nice little touches. Now, not massively, you know, you get blast effects for the guns, you get afterburner effects for the back of Thunderhawk. You can plug it in like the afterburners are going on, and just little tweaks. Thunderhawk's got wing mirrors now, which the vintage one didn't. So we're not talking huge changes, but enough to make them more modernised and more updated.
Would you say upgraded?
I don't know if I'd even say upgraded, because that seems a bit of an over exaggeration for it. I just think they've tweaked them to just make them look that tiny, maybe a bit more modern and more accurate. Yeah. But I just think they look great, and if they're as good as what they appear to be, I'm excited to have them. And I'm hoping
the full wave again, the full line again.
Well, I'm assuming. I mean, I don't know at this point. Obviously, this is just an assumption, so I'm assuming that it will all be based on sales to start with, how well they sell. But you have to assume, if anything, I can't imagine, even if they do really well, I can't imagine they'll go past Wave 2, because there won't be any interest after. They just won't. There were back in the day. I can't imagine there would be now. So if anything, I think they'll do Wave 1 and 2. So they've currently released half of Wave 1. I suspect if they do any more, it'll be the next half of Wave 1, which would be Jackhammer, Piranha, Firecracker, and Gator. So, I mean, they're another 4 absolute belters. So I hope they do them. But I'd quite like them to throw Shark in. We never got Shark. I'd like
you get it from Ramen, but it's for 6-inch scale, and it's not the same.
It's not the right scale.
It's
not the same scale. It's
nice though. It's beautiful though. It's really nice.
It is nice.
But Luke, let me ask you this: say if, like you just said, then after this one, that'll probably be it. But say if they went the Motu route and started to mix them up, and all of a sudden you got Mass that was mixed up with A-Team and mixed up with Back to the Future and Knight Rider, would you be all over them? Would you be like, I've got to get it easy?
I don't know what you mean, Si. Do you mean like...
So like the first wave comes out of this Mass new lot that comes out. Second wave does. But like the Motu, absolute smash. And we know it's going to be a success because, like I said, within day 2, these were all gone, every one of them. So say they get to that point where they think, right, let's think of new ideas, and they start to mix these franchises. So you get a Switchblade, but it's Airwolf. And you're getting, the 18 band, and you're getting...
So like we get in 18 van colours sort of thing.
Yeah. No. Like they mixed them up, like how Masters of the Universe with the Thundercats and that mix up. Would you be interested in them?
No, it wouldn't do out for me. I don't like these mashed up toy lines. They're not for me. You know, they've done Turtles mashed up with He-Man, haven't they? And they're not for me.
Yeah, it seems to be like in the air, that sort of thing today, doesn't it? These sort of mashups and.
No, I don't. I mean, they've brought out Ryan. Have you seen the black and? Have we spoke about it already? Have you seen the black and gold anniversary Ryan?
Yeah, we saw that before. Des T says, "I don't think it's a line I'll get into." Said Luke Reynolds, never. So, Si, they've all been talking about your doll, Si.
Comment of the night. Damn.
Is it white? Si Sexto was not on my bingo card tonight. Look at this. Si, You can never convince us. So I'll let you go back there, Si, and have a look at that. So I didn't even know about the whole season 2 racing cartooning mask before, Lisa. No, that's what I mean, Luke. So again, it goes back to what we're very professional tonight. It goes back to what we're saying, wasn't it? When you watch people's videos and you live through other things, you learn so much, don't you? Weirdly, I've discussed this with you before. I only remember the 4th series vehicles masks because they were cheap to buy back in the day. I do remember the mask comics more than the toys. I didn't know there was a comic thing, Tony, until I'd seen Luke.
Yeah. Now that is true. That's what I remember more. I remember looking through more mask comics than I did the toys. That's true. That.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, like back then, a school year so much longer than I could not agree more. You're 100% right. Ian says pickled onion monster munch has never been beaten. Do you agree?
Pickled onion monster munch are great. They are good.
Yeah.
Definitely wanted a new updated modern ones. Never really got straight up reissues, as I've said before. Luke, does he know he already has those masks?
I'll just like to say that I do find Space Raiders more of a pickled onion flavour than Monster Munch. Space Raiders are like the pickled onion. They're the nads, aren't they? They're like, I love them.
The nads.
They are, though, aren't they?
I would have thought a modern update would have been the way to go, like they did with Motu. And but it's great because I watched the thing on Mattel Creations, and they said what they did was they got He-Man and Skeletor, and they got the original ones. And what can we do to make this better? Not what can we do to, you know what I mean? They actually took the old toy line and decided to do. So that's what I thought they might do with masks. Not all G-Force, they had no interest for me, and I'm a massive mask collector, and they'll have the whole complete vintage run, but the reissue are nothing short of a waste of time. I don't think very.
It's just a waste of time.
Our good pal Rob says, I'm picking up the mask for me and my son. Never had them as a kid. A friend of mine had so many, he used to love going to his house and playing with them for hours. I agree with that. I actually think they appeared to me more than someone's having much fun of them and fancies getting them. Yeah, but I've got to admit, if when they come over in the States, if anyone other than the only toy place that's got them now, and they do them for the actual prices, I'm going to get them because I absolutely love them, and so I just think it's awesome to have, and it's just easy for me just to go into a stop and get them. But they did it over here. They did it with the Gem Doll. It was only at Walmart. Then nobody else got it for months, and then everybody got it. That's what they do over here. They always do this sort of thing like that over here to make them a bit more. I get people want the vintage, but you cannot get a boxed unopened mask in the US for what the new release cost.
Yeah, true.
I
think the US are a bit screwed, aren't you? Yeah.
Cheers, our ops. Yeah. I'm going to call it because we've done nearly 2.5 hours. Absolutely brilliant. I've loved it. I've loved Northerners. Look at this. It's been a great show. Then I won't bother, Rob. It has to be vintage for me.
3 Northerners and 1 part-timer. That's what you mean. He's lived in America 20 years, Northerners.
Let's have a look. I like the box art as well as the toy, so getting the new mask appeals to me. I agree, Adam. If they only had them already, I wouldn't pick them up. I guess it's like I said earlier, I can only collect modern as I won't be a collector. It won't be a collector. Well, it's like I said, and that's the nicest thing. There's no right or wrong, is there, our DTM? It's,
no.
It's up to everybody.
No.
Yeah. I'm not a modern collector. I was into Moto Origins, and I've recently moved to the vintage Moto. I'm afraid the same may happen with Masters. But that's what I did. I started buying the Origins, and the Ghostbusters. What me and D10 were saying before. I got the the retro ones. Then I'm starting to buy all and I'm loving getting that line. And now because of it's gone down the vintage, because of the retro, I'm starting to buy the vintage because it's gone cheaper. So
yeah. But funny what happens to original Master through these new ones. Which way that's going to go? Is it going to go through the roof?
Currently, the prices seem to be going up. You go onto eBay, people asking silly money for them. Yeah,
they normally do, don't they? When something gets reissued, the original normally seems to scoop up.
Yeah.
This has been one of your best live streams, Shabby Si, Luke, DTM in the chat. Cheers,
Kieran.
What a nice thing to say, mate. Yeah, I've loved it. So, all you new people tonight, please like and subscribe to all of us. Reynolds Reviews, DTM Collectibles, Shabby Geek. It's been great having you all here. But thanks, lads. We've had a great night. Everyone's been here.
Brilliant.
Everyone's been awesome tonight. It's been absolutely brilliant. Have you anyone got anything coming up before we go?
Yeah. Tub Thumpers Monday night for more magic.
More magic.
This Sunday is episode 2 of Book Be My Guide on Reynolds Reviews. So yeah.
Ooh.
Second instalment of the guidebooks I use for my toy collecting. Yeah,
nice. Well, I like Cheers. What do you think of that Stellara figure? She's good, isn't she?
oh, it's great figure.
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great.
She really does. Yeah,
really nice.
DTM, what you got coming up?
Blackpool Toy Fair in a week on Saturday.
Would you two like to? If you two take pictures and so forth, I'd love to do a stream on that. I'd love to.
Yeah, I'll take some footage.
Yeah, look, if you're free that Saturday, come down. I tell you, me and Dave went last time. We cut the tail end of it. It was that good. All four of us bought something. We were smacked. So we're not missing it this time, are we?
Scaled down NEC.
On this occasion, I'll struggle because I'm saving all my pennies because I may be paying 2 other people a visit in about a month.
He come in.
I'll leave it at that.
He come in here. He brings shorts and his t-shirt. It's 100 degrees. You know.
No, I'm off to see your side because he's getting a friend. So. So when I say I'm off to visit 2 other people, I'm off to see your site and Lusty Linda.
Lusty Linda. It's an action figure, Luke. It's like convincing us.
I will say, after all this talk, the talk is I can only be convinced how I can convince people because I am definitely buying one of these 100%. The 2 cool.
In a couple of weeks, I'm going to get the website. I'm going to get the pictures up, and me and you will have a debate, and we'll compare. See if everyone agrees with me that it is what it is.
Yeah, we'll put a poll up. We'll put a poll up.
Right.
Is that this or not?
Put a poll up. Hang on. A 10 poll.
Yeah, we'll put the poll up. Yeah.
There'll be a queue as long as buffet pizza.
Sale tickets at Toy Fair with him. Come on, love.
Oh, tell you.
Wave to DTM.
Look what Townsend just put here. Lusty Linda and Size Magic Wand.
What was it? Was that on Only Fools on it? Lusty Linda and Erotic Estelle.
Oh, brilliant. I need some Shirley to go with his Pepsi. Toy Master, I loved. Yeah, Toy Master was great, wasn't it? When we were great chat tonight, really cool. Thank you all so much for coming. It's been a great night. Say goodnight, everyone. We'll see you soon. See you.